In a world that never stops moving, falling asleep has become harder than ever. Our minds race with unfinished tasks, regrets, worries, and the constant pressure to be more, do more, and feel more. We scroll until our eyes blur. We chase happiness like it's always one step ahead, and when the lights go out, the noise doesn't stop. It just gets quieter, harder to ignore. But what if you could end your day differently? Not with stress or noise, but with calm, with clarity, with ancient wisdom that's been guiding humans through chaos for thousands of years. This isn't about motivational hype or toxic positivity. It's about depth, about truth, about falling asleep not by numbing your mind, but by feeding it something real, something that softens the grip of anxiety and reconnects you to what actually matters. Philosophy wasn't written for the classroom. It was written for nights like this, for quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts and finally ready to listen. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled one of the most powerful empires in history, reminded himself daily to care less about what others think, to expect hardship, and to return to reason. He wrote his meditations not for the world but for himself, as a way to stay grounded, to remain calm in chaos. His words remind us that we don't have to react to everything. We don't have to be ruled by craving, comparison, or fear. And sometimes, caring less isn't indifference, it's wisdom. But even when we stop chasing other people's approval, many of us fall into another trap, chasing pleasure. We pursue happiness like it's a destination. We think the next purchase, the next experience, the next achievement will finally be enough. But pleasure without purpose eventually hollows us out. The ancient philosophers warned us the pursuit of constant pleasure often leads not to happiness, but to emptiness. True peace doesn't come from indulging every impulse. It comes from mastering them, from knowing when to let go. And then there's the truth most people avoid entirely: death. Memento mori. Remember you must die, not to depress you, but to wake you up. When you remember that your time is finite, your priorities become clear. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop postponing joy. You stop living on autopilot. Reflecting on death isn't morbid, it's clarifying. It reminds you that tonight, as you fall asleep, you are alive, and that is enough. This video is designed to be a space of stillness, a quiet place where you can let go of everything that doesn't serve you. Let these ideas guide you into sleep, not with urgency, but with ease. Let them soften the noise, slow your breathing, and reconnect you with the deeper parts of yourself. Because sometimes, the most life-changing moments don't come when you're wide awake. They come when you're finally still enough to hear them. Marcus Aurelius wasn't your typical philosopher who spent his life locked away writing abstract theories in solitude. He was actually the Roman emperor nearly 2,000 years ago, one of the most powerful people on earth, responsible for leading an empire that stretched across continents. But despite having wealth, power, and endless comforts at his fingertips, Marcus Aurelius faced constant challenges: devastating wars, deadly plagues, political betrayals, and personal losses. Amidst this chaos, he turned inward and sought guidance from Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that taught him how to remain calm, resilient, and clear-minded no matter what happened around him. Marcus wrote down his personal reflections and ideas in a private journal, which today we know as Meditations, one of history's most profound and practical books about living well in the face of life's uncertainty. The heart of Marcus Aurelius's teachings, and the core idea we'll be exploring today, is the principle that caring too much about things we can't control, such as other people's opinions, external validation, material success, or status, makes us weak, anxious, and deeply unhappy. According to Marcus Aurelius, when we place our happiness or self-worth in external things, we give away our inner power and become slaves to circumstances beyond our control. For example, if you spend your life constantly worrying about what others think of you, your looks, your social media posts, your grades, your job, or how you appear to the outside world, you become trapped in a cycle of anxiety. This happens because your mood and self-esteem depend entirely on factors that you simply cannot control. You end up exhausted from trying to please everyone, constantly fearful of rejection, criticism, or failure. Marcus believed that this anxiety doesn't come from the world itself, but from our mistaken belief that our happiness depends on external outcomes rather than our internal attitudes and choices. In today's modern world, Marcus Aurelius' teachings are more important than ever. We live in an age dominated by social media, constant comparisons, relentless consumerism, and endless pressures to succeed and impress others. Every day we're bombarded with messages telling us that our worth depends on how attractive we are, how much money we earn, how many followers we have, or how exciting our lives appear to others. This endless striving for external approval leaves millions of people anxious, overwhelmed, and deeply unhappy. Marcus Aurelius saw through this illusion nearly 2 millennia ago. He understood that the key to true inner peace, resilience, and happiness lies in shifting our attention inward, towards our own values, integrity, and character, instead of obsessing over external outcomes. His philosophy isn't about not caring at all, rather, it's about caring wisely, caring about the things that truly matter, things we actually have control over, our thoughts, actions, and responses. Throughout this video, we'll explore exactly how you can put Marcus Aurelius' wisdom into practice. You'll discover powerful techniques and practical exercises from his Stoic teachings to help you detach from unnecessary stress and anxiety, build emotional strength, and reclaim your peace of mind. By the end of this journey, you'll have a clear roadmap to caring less about superficial and external things, freeing yourself from needless worries and fears. Marcus Aurelius offers us timeless advice on how to develop a calm mind, strong character, and lasting happiness, regardless of how chaotic or uncertain life becomes. By following his guidance, you'll learn how to stand confidently in your own truth, unaffected by the noise, judgments, or pressures of the world around you. To truly appreciate Marcus Aurelius' wisdom, it's helpful first to understand Stoicism, the philosophy that shaped his thinking and guided his actions throughout his life. Stoicism emerged in ancient Greece more than 2,300 years ago, founded by a philosopher named Zeno of Citium, who taught his lessons from a public space known as the Stoa, hence the name Stoicism. Unlike what some people assume today, Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions or being cold and unfeeling. Instead, it's about developing inner strength, clarity, and emotional stability by focusing on what we can control and calmly accepting what we can't. Stoics believe that happiness and fulfillment don't come from external pleasures, possessions, or achievements, but from cultivating inner peace, virtue, and a balanced mindset. They taught that we can't always control the events of our lives, like sickness, job loss, or what others think or say, but we can always control how we react, how we interpret these events, and how we let them affect us emotionally. Marcus Aurelius became one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, not by sitting around thinking abstractly, but by actively applying these ideas while ruling the Roman Empire during one of its most challenging eras. Born in Rome in the year 121 AD, Marcus Aurelius was adopted at a young age into the imperial family. From his youth, Marcus was trained rigorously in philosophy, literature, and leadership, guided by teachers who emphasized virtue, wisdom, and moral character. However, Marcus's life was far from easy, despite being emperor. He faced constant warfare, battling invasions from powerful foreign tribes along Rome's borders. He endured personal tragedies, including the loss of several of his own children to illness. He even had to deal with betrayal from those he trusted. Amidst these hardships, Marcus turned to Stoicism to remain calm and grounded. He began writing down private reflections and advice to himself, never intending them for public eyes, in a diary he carried while traveling and campaigning. This diary eventually became the famous book we know today as Meditations. In it, Marcus doesn't preach or lecture. He simply reminds himself of Stoic principles and how to live a meaningful life, despite inevitable hardships and struggles. At the very heart of Stoicism, and the main theme that Marcus returns to repeatedly, is the simple yet powerful distinction between what we control and what we don't control. This principle, often called the dichotomy of control, is the foundation of the entire Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius explained that much of our anxiety, anger, and unhappiness comes from confusing these two categories. Most of the things that upset us deeply, like other people's actions or judgments, unexpected setbacks, or accidents, are completely beyond our direct control. The Stoics taught that the only things fully in our power are our own thoughts, our own decisions, and our responses to the events around us. Marcus Aurelius believed that once we fully understand and embrace this truth, we can achieve deep inner peace. For instance, if someone criticizes you harshly, the Stoic response isn't to become upset, angry, or defensive. Instead, the Stoic reminds themselves that they can't control the critic's opinions or words, but they absolutely can control their own reaction, choosing calmness, patience, or even indifference. By repeatedly reminding himself of this idea, Marcus found peace and clarity, even amidst the chaos of war, political tension, and personal tragedy. Today, almost 2,000 years after Marcus Aurelius penned these reflections, his teachings remain surprisingly relevant and perhaps even more important in our fast-paced, stressful modern world. Despite technological progress and comforts Marcus could have never imagined, people today suffer from unprecedented levels of anxiety, stress, depression, and burnout. One major reason for this is our culture's obsessive focus on external validation, chasing likes and followers on social media, seeking approval from peers, worrying constantly about what others think of our appearance, achievements, or status. Marcus Aurelius' wisdom speaks directly to this modern problem by pointing out that seeking happiness from outside ourselves is not only exhausting but fundamentally futile. Instead, he advocates cultivating inner strength, emotional resilience, and self-worth based solely on our own character and choices, things no external force can ever take from us. His approach is also particularly powerful for improving mental health. Modern psychological practices, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, draw directly from Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius' techniques, such as examining and reframing our negative thoughts, reminding ourselves of what's truly under our control, and practicing daily gratitude, are now proven tools used by therapists worldwide. For example, imagine you're nervous about a test, job interview, or public speaking. A Stoic would advise recognizing your anxiety as simply thoughts triggered by worrying about an outcome you can't fully control. Instead, you shift your focus to what you can control: your preparation, your mindset, your attitude. This shift dramatically reduces anxiety and helps you perform better under pressure. Similarly, when faced with inevitable setbacks or disappointments, Marcus Aurelius' teachings help us accept what happened without bitterness or resentment, learn from the experience, and calmly move forward. Finally, Marcus Aurelius' philosophy helps us build real, lasting resilience. Resilience isn't simply pushing through difficult situations or pretending everything is fine. It's the ability to withstand adversity without losing inner calmness or optimism. Marcus faced enormous pressures every day as emperor: wars, disease outbreaks, betrayal from trusted allies. Yet he never allowed circumstances to break him or turn him into a bitter or fearful person. Instead, he approached every crisis as an opportunity to practice virtue and strength of character. His writings show that he consciously trained himself to accept reality as it is, without complaining or wishing things were different. Marcus consistently reminded himself that life's challenges aren't random acts of cruelty. They are inevitable parts of human existence meant to test and improve us. When we adopt this Stoic viewpoint, hardships no longer crush us but become opportunities for growth. They teach us patience, compassion, courage, and wisdom, helping us become stronger and better versions of ourselves. By studying and applying Marcus Aurelius's insights, you're not simply learning ancient philosophy, you're adopting a proven way to improve your mental health, reduce stress and anxiety, and develop the resilience you need to thrive despite life's inevitable ups and downs. Stoicism isn't just philosophical theory, it's a practical toolkit for daily life. As we dive deeper into Marcus's teachings throughout this video, you'll uncover specific techniques, strategies, and exercises you can start using immediately to become calmer, clearer-minded, and more unbreakable in every situation you face. When people first hear the idea that caring less is the key to strength and happiness, they often misunderstand what it really means. Many assume it implies becoming cold, indifferent, or even selfish, as though you stop caring about people, responsibilities, or your life goals. But Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics taught something very different. Their idea of caring less isn't about indifference, it's about healthy detachment. Stoic detachment simply means not placing your self-worth, happiness, or inner peace in the hands of things you can't fully control, such as other people's opinions, your popularity, or the results of your efforts. In other words, Stoics still care deeply about their goals, loved ones, and life, but they're careful not to become emotionally dependent or obsessed with external validation or approval. This important distinction helps protect your peace of mind, making you resilient when faced with criticism, rejection, or disappointment. If your happiness depends solely on what others think about you, every negative comment, every judgmental glance, and every small failure can crush your self-esteem. But if you learn Stoic detachment, external factors no longer have that destructive power over you. Marcus Aurelius talked frequently in his meditations about the danger of seeking approval or validation from others. He realized early on that basing your worth on the opinions of other people is a recipe for constant anxiety and misery. Because people's opinions and attitudes are always changing, often unpredictably. One day someone might praise you, the next they might criticize you harshly. If your happiness hinges on these changing opinions, you're constantly riding an emotional roller coaster. Marcus understood clearly that approval from others is something completely outside your control. You can't force people to like you, respect you, or understand you perfectly. Therefore, relying on external validation is like placing your happiness into the hands of strangers who may never truly know or care about your values and your true self. Marcus advised himself, and through his writing advises us, to focus on our internal values and integrity instead. He taught that a person who values honesty, courage, kindness, and self-discipline doesn't need external praise or recognition. Your self-worth then comes from living according to these virtues, things that you directly control, not from how popular you are or how much people admire your appearance or success. By shifting your mindset away from external validation, you create a stable sense of self that can withstand life's challenges. Excessive attachment to external outcomes, such as always needing to succeed, always being liked by everyone, always appearing impressive or perfect, is another common cause of anxiety and unhappiness in our lives. Marcus Aurelius noticed this even during his time, and today it's even more obvious. Imagine a student who believes their self-worth depends solely on getting perfect grades. Every test or assignment feels like life or death. Even minor setbacks or mistakes cause massive stress, sleepless nights, and feelings of failure. Or consider someone who desperately wants approval from their friends or co-workers. They're terrified of rejection or criticism, so they hide their real opinions, pretend to enjoy things they don't, or constantly say yes, even when they feel overwhelmed. Over time, this constant pressure leads to anxiety, frustration, or even burnout. Marcus Aurelius pointed out the reason for this suffering: attaching your happiness and sense of self too deeply to outcomes that ultimately you cannot fully control. You can't always guarantee success, just as you can't always guarantee people will like you. By desperately holding on to these external outcomes, you set yourself up for emotional turmoil every time things don't go exactly your way. We can see practical examples of this problem everywhere in modern life. Take social media, for example. Many people spend countless hours obsessing over likes, followers, comments, or views on their posts. If they get fewer likes than expected, they feel rejected or inferior. If a post goes viral, they feel validated and happy, but only temporarily. Soon, the anxiety returns. Will my next post do well? Will people keep liking me? Do they truly like who I am or just what I show them? Social media perfectly illustrates Marcus Aurelius' idea. Basing your happiness on external validation, likes, followers, online popularity, creates anxiety because these things are completely outside your control. Even celebrities with millions of followers often feel insecure, precisely because they're relying on external validation rather than internal self-worth. In the workplace, many people constantly feel anxious, stressed, or insecure because their self-worth depends entirely on external recognition. Getting a promotion, receiving praise from a boss, or outperforming co-workers. They fear failure or criticism so intensely that every small mistake feels like a disaster. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that this constant stress and anxiety come from caring too deeply about something external, approval or status, rather than internal values like integrity, effort, and continuous improvement. A Stoic mindset allows you to pursue goals passionately but remain emotionally detached from outcomes you can't control. You're able to accept setbacks calmly, learn from criticism constructively, and maintain inner peace regardless of external circumstances. Ironically, this inner calm often leads to greater success since you can focus clearly without the cloud of anxiety. Relationships provide yet another practical example of how excessive attachment to external outcomes causes unhappiness. Imagine someone who constantly seeks validation and reassurance from their partner or friends. They become needy, jealous, or anxious because their sense of self-worth depends on constant external affirmation. If their partner doesn't text back immediately, they panic and assume the worst. If a friend cancels plans, they feel personally rejected. This emotional roller coaster can damage relationships, causing unnecessary arguments or tension. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that healthier relationships happen when we care deeply about others, without placing our entire sense of worth in their hands. Stoicism encourages us to love and appreciate people without becoming emotionally dependent or overly attached to their approval. You remain caring, compassionate, and connected, but not desperate or insecure. Caring less, at least about external validation and outcomes beyond your direct control, is the key to genuine inner strength and lasting happiness. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of anxiety, worry, and frustration. Marcus Aurelius' message is clear. True happiness and resilience come from within, not from other people's opinions, popularity, status, or superficial success. By cultivating inner values and virtues that you alone control, you build emotional strength, peace, and lasting self-confidence. Stoicism empowers you to handle setbacks, criticism, or rejection without becoming devastated or overwhelmed. It offers a pathway to deeper relationships, professional success, and personal fulfillment precisely because you're no longer desperate for external validation. Instead, you approach life calmly and confidently, able to enjoy success without anxiety and cope with failures without despair. Marcus Aurelius' most powerful insights revolve around building emotional resilience, the ability to handle life's setbacks, disappointments, and difficulties without losing your inner balance or peace. Throughout his book Meditations, Marcus constantly reminds himself, and by extension all of us, about how to cultivate emotional strength. One of his most impactful quotes is, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This simple yet powerful message lies at the core of emotional resilience. Marcus is teaching us that we often waste enormous energy trying to control external events that are simply outside of our reach. Instead, if we redirect our attention inward, towards our own reactions, thoughts, and interpretations, we regain our strength. Emotional resilience isn't about forcing ourselves to remain unaffected by life's challenges. It's about recognizing clearly what we can and cannot control, and then responding to difficulties in a calm, wise, and rational way. Another insightful quote from Marcus Aurelius states, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very obstacles or setbacks we face can actually strengthen us if we approach them with the right mindset. Marcus suggests viewing difficulties not as unfair punishments, but as opportunities for growth. Every failure, criticism, or disappointment is an opportunity to practice virtues such as patience, courage, humility, and determination. Rather than seeing these setbacks as proof of our inadequacy or bad luck, Marcus encourages us to embrace them as chances to learn something valuable. By shifting our perspective in this way, we become more emotionally resilient because setbacks no longer trigger despair or panic. Instead, they become useful experiences that help us grow stronger, wiser, and more mature. To adopt Marcus Aurelius' Stoic mindset and build emotional resilience, it's important to consistently practice reframing setbacks, failures, and criticism in a healthier, more productive way. Instead of immediately reacting with frustration, disappointment, or anger when things don't go your way, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can this difficulty help me become better? If you receive criticism from someone, a teacher, a friend, or even a complete stranger, rather than instantly becoming defensive or upset, Marcus would suggest viewing this criticism objectively. Consider whether there's some truth or value in what's being said. If there is, you can use it constructively to improve yourself. If there isn't, you can calmly disregard it as irrelevant. Marcus taught that criticism should never destroy your inner peace because it doesn't actually harm your core self. Your true self-worth doesn't depend on someone else's opinions. This reframing habit, practiced consistently, helps you become emotionally stronger, more confident, and less easily shaken by external events or negative feedback. Another key Stoic practice that Marcus Aurelius emphasizes is what we call Stoic acceptance, embracing reality exactly as it is, rather than desperately wishing it were different. Marcus reminds himself in Meditations, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly." He understood deeply that most human unhappiness comes from resisting reality, wishing the past had been different, or fighting against present circumstances. We often say things like, "Why did this happen to me?" or "This isn't fair," which only creates bitterness, resentment, or depression. Marcus teaches us to replace these unhealthy reactions with acceptance and action. Accepting reality doesn't mean we enjoy everything that happens, nor does it mean we stop trying to improve our situation. Instead, it means clearly acknowledging that whatever happened has already happened. Complaining about it, resisting it, or wishing it hadn't occurred is pointless and only prolongs your suffering. Instead, accept reality first, then focus on responding wisely, practically, and constructively to whatever situation you face. Let's look at some concrete real-world applications to see how Marcus Aurelius's lessons on emotional resilience and acceptance can be used today. Imagine experiencing job loss, something unfortunately very common. Losing a job can be devastating emotionally and financially. It often triggers self-doubt, anxiety, anger, or depression. But a Stoic approach inspired by Marcus Aurelius would suggest that your emotional resilience comes from immediately accepting what has already happened, without denial or bitterness, and then calmly assessing your next steps. Instead of feeling like a failure or becoming paralyzed by despair, you remind yourself this loss is simply an external event. It doesn't determine your inner worth or value. By reframing this event as an opportunity to find better employment, develop new skills, or pursue a different career path, you create strength and resilience out of what initially seemed like pure misfortune. Breakups offer another practical example. Ending relationships, especially when unexpected or unwanted, is emotionally difficult and can cause significant pain, loneliness, and insecurity. Marcus Aurelius' teachings encourage Stoic acceptance here as well. Rather than obsessing over why your relationship ended or blaming yourself relentlessly, Stoicism advises calmly accepting the reality of the situation. Once accepted, you can turn your attention to the valuable lessons the relationship provided, about yourself, about others, and about what you genuinely want or need in future relationships. Reframing the breakup as an opportunity for self-growth transforms emotional pain into emotional resilience. Rather than remaining bitter or anxious, you gradually become stronger, wiser, and more prepared for future experiences. Criticism in modern life, whether from friends, family, co-workers, or online strangers, is another area where Marcus Aurelius' wisdom proves especially valuable. Social media, for example, can expose us to criticism on an enormous scale, sometimes unfairly or harshly. Rather than becoming consumed by anxiety, anger, or sadness over critical comments, Marcus's approach would be to calmly recognize that other people's words can't hurt your true self unless you allow them to. By clearly distinguishing what's within your control, your reactions, your interpretations, from what's outside your control, other people's opinions, you develop a powerful shield of emotional resilience. You become less emotionally reactive and better able to stay calm, confident, and composed, even in the face of harsh criticism. Finally, societal pressures such as constant competition, unrealistic standards of success, and relentless demands on our attention create widespread anxiety. Marcus Aurelius's philosophy advises recognizing these pressures as external events beyond your direct control. Instead of being emotionally overwhelmed or crippled by comparison, you consciously focus inward. Remind yourself that genuine happiness and emotional strength come from acting in line with your values and virtues. Honesty, kindness, discipline, not from external standards or expectations imposed by society. You calmly accept societal pressures as a fact of modern life, but refuse to internalize them or allow them to define you. In each of these scenarios, job loss, breakups, criticism, societal pressures, Marcus Aurelius's practical advice remains consistent and powerful. By clearly distinguishing between what's under your control, your responses, attitude, and decisions, and what's beyond your control, other people's actions, opinions, external circumstances, you build genuine emotional resilience. By accepting reality exactly as it is, you reduce unnecessary emotional suffering. By reframing setbacks, failures, and criticism as opportunities for growth, you turn emotional pain into emotional strength. Marcus Aurelius offers us timeless and deeply practical wisdom. His approach to emotional resilience empowers us to handle life's inevitable challenges calmly, rationally, and confidently. Understanding the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius is important, but it only becomes truly valuable when you put it into practice every day. Marcus Aurelius himself wasn't interested in philosophy just for abstract ideas. He used specific, practical techniques regularly to build emotional strength and inner stability. Right now, I'll walk you through 4 powerful Stoic exercises that you can start applying immediately to care less about things beyond your control and to become stronger and calmer in your everyday life. Exercise 1. The dichotomy of control. The dichotomy of control is the most fundamental Stoic practice, and it's also the easiest to apply. Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics clearly teach that we should always distinguish between what we can control and what we can't. To practice this, take any problem or situation you're facing and clearly ask yourself, what parts of this situation are within my direct control and what parts are not? For example, imagine you're worried about an upcoming exam. Using this technique, you'd quickly realize you can't control exactly what questions your teacher puts on the test, nor can you control how your classmates will perform. These things are entirely outside your power, but what you can control is your own study habits, your preparation, your attitude, and how you respond emotionally to stress. By focusing only on what you can control, you dramatically reduce anxiety. You can apply this technique to virtually every area of life, whether it's worrying about friendships, relationships, job outcomes, or other people's opinions. The more you practice separating what's in your power from what isn't, the clearer and calmer your mind becomes. You learn to let go of unnecessary worry and stress, freeing yourself to focus entirely on what you can influence, your own actions, responses, and character. Exercise 2. Daily journaling inspired by Marcus Aurelius. Another practical and deeply effective way to build inner stability and clarity is through daily journaling, something Marcus Aurelius himself practiced consistently. Each night or morning, Marcus would write short reflections to remind himself of Stoic principles, reflect on his day's events, and prepare himself emotionally for challenges ahead. To follow his example, spend 5 to 10 minutes each day writing down your own thoughts, worries, reflections, or experiences. Journaling helps you clearly organize your emotions and understand your reactions more objectively. For instance, if something upset you during the day, perhaps an argument with a friend or family member, write honestly about why you felt angry or upset. Then try to apply Marcus's advice to your situation. What parts of that event were within your control and which were not? How might you respond differently next time, guided by Stoic principles? Journaling isn't about perfection, it's about honesty, self-awareness, and emotional growth. Over time, journaling consistently helps you recognize unhealthy patterns in your thinking and behavior. You start seeing clearly how much emotional energy you waste worrying about things you can't control, which gradually empowers you to become calmer, wiser, and emotionally stronger each day. Exercise 3. Negative visualization. Negative visualization might sound counterintuitive at first. Why would you purposely imagine bad outcomes? But the Stoics found this exercise incredibly valuable because it prepares you mentally and emotionally for life's inevitable setbacks and difficulties. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to visualize negative scenarios, not to feel afraid, but to reduce fear and anxiety by becoming psychologically prepared for whatever may come. To practice negative visualization, take a few moments regularly, perhaps once a week, to imagine losing something valuable to you, such as your job, your health, your relationship, or even something as simple as your smartphone or comfortable home. Clearly imagine how you'd feel, how you'd cope, and what actions you might take if those things were suddenly taken away. This exercise isn't meant to cause stress, it's meant to strengthen you emotionally. By facing these uncomfortable thoughts beforehand, you become more resilient when real challenges inevitably arise. Negative visualization also dramatically increases your gratitude. When you consciously recognize how easily you could lose the good things you have now, you start appreciating them more deeply, rather than taking them for granted. You become emotionally stronger and happier by practicing gratitude and readiness regularly, exactly as Marcus Aurelius recommended. Exercise 4. Voluntary discomfort. The final powerful technique Marcus Aurelius and other Stoics used to build inner strength is called voluntary discomfort. The idea behind this exercise is intentionally experiencing mild discomfort or inconvenience in daily life. Marcus often slept on the ground during military campaigns, ate simple meals, and refused luxurious comforts to remind himself that happiness doesn't depend on external comforts or luxuries. To practice voluntary discomfort in your own life, regularly choose small ways to step outside your comfort zone. For example, try taking cold showers, skipping dessert occasionally, or intentionally going without your phone or social media for a full day. At first, these small discomforts might feel difficult or unpleasant, but that's precisely the point. Each time you willingly choose discomfort, you're strengthening your emotional muscles, proving to yourself that you can survive and even thrive without constant pleasure or comfort. Over time, this builds deep inner confidence and emotional strength. You become less afraid of life's inevitable discomforts because you've repeatedly shown yourself that happiness, contentment, and inner peace don't rely on external luxuries or constant comfort. Your comfort zone expands, your anxieties shrink, and your emotional resilience steadily grows stronger. Each of these 4 practical techniques, the dichotomy of control, daily journaling, negative visualization, and voluntary discomfort, are powerful Stoic exercises designed specifically to build emotional strength, stability, and inner peace. Marcus Aurelius didn't just theorize about emotional resilience, he actively practiced these exercises daily, strengthening himself mentally, emotionally, and even physically. If you commit to practicing these exercises regularly, even briefly, you'll quickly begin noticing real changes in your emotional reactions anxiety levels, and overall happiness. By consciously choosing to care less about external factors and more about building your internal character, you steadily transform yourself from someone easily shaken by life's ups and downs into someone calm, stable, and deeply resilient. Marcus Aurelius didn't promise that Stoicism would make life easier, but he guaranteed it would make you stronger. And that's exactly the goal behind these powerful practices. One of the most valuable parts of Marcus Aurelius' Stoic philosophy is his practical and insightful advice about relationships and how to interact with others. Relationships with family, friends, co-workers, or romantic partners are among the most significant and complex parts of our lives, often causing both great happiness and considerable stress. Marcus understood deeply that the quality of our relationships largely determines the quality of our lives. However, he also recognized how easily we become emotionally disturbed, angry, or upset due to misunderstandings, disagreements, or conflicts with the people around us. Marcus believed the key to healthy, balanced relationships lies in a powerful idea: caring deeply about people but remaining internally detached. This doesn't mean being cold, distant, or indifferent. Rather, Marcus encourages us to love and value others sincerely, while not allowing our inner peace and happiness to depend entirely on their actions, opinions, or approval. By maintaining this wise balance, you protect yourself from emotional turmoil without sacrificing genuine connections with the people you care about most. In meditations, Marcus frequently reminds himself how to treat other people, even those who act rudely or hurtfully. One of his most famous passages is a powerful example. He writes, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'Today I will encounter people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. All these things happen because they are ignorant of what is good and evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and I recognize the humanity we share.'" Marcus is teaching us a deeply practical way to approach people with compassion and understanding, even when they behave badly. He isn't excusing rude behavior, but he's encouraging empathy and emotional clarity. Instead of instantly becoming angry or judgmental when someone treats us poorly, Marcus suggests remembering their ignorance or unhappiness and choosing to respond with compassion rather than resentment. This doesn't mean you tolerate mistreatment or disrespect. It simply means that you recognize that other people's behavior usually says more about their own struggles or insecurities than about your own worth or value. This wise approach helps you remain emotionally stable and kind-hearted, even in difficult social interactions. Marcus Aurelius also provides clear teachings about forgiveness. Stoicism, according to Marcus, involves understanding deeply that every human being, including yourself, is flawed and imperfect. Marcus himself constantly reminded himself of his own imperfections to remain humble and forgiving towards others. He believed holding grudges, resentment, or bitterness against people is ultimately harmful to our own emotional well-being. Marcus writes, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In other words, when someone hurts or insults you, responding with similar anger, cruelty, or revenge only makes you resemble them. Instead, Marcus encourages us to forgive, not because the other person necessarily deserves forgiveness, but because holding on to anger harms your own inner peace and emotional health. Forgiveness, from a Stoic perspective, doesn't mean you have to forget entirely or pretend you weren't hurt. It simply means you refuse to carry bitterness or anger forward. You free yourself emotionally from the burden of grudges, making yourself stronger and more resilient in relationships. Navigating criticism, conflict, and difficult people is something we all struggle with, but Marcus Aurelius offers powerful guidance to handle these challenging situations calmly and effectively. Marcus frequently encountered difficult, manipulative, or critical people in his role as emperor. Politicians who opposed him, generals who challenged him, and even close advisors who betrayed him. His advice for dealing with difficult people is simple yet incredibly effective. Respond calmly, rationally, and objectively rather than emotionally. Marcus advises reminding yourself clearly that you cannot control how other people behave or speak, but you always control your own response. Rather than reacting impulsively or angrily to criticism, Marcus recommends calmly asking yourself if there's truth in what's being said. If so, use it constructively to improve yourself. If not, disregard the criticism without anger or resentment. Marcus writes, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will gladly change, for I seek truth. No one was ever harmed by the truth." This humble, rational approach helps you turn even harsh criticism into opportunities for personal growth rather than emotional setbacks. Similarly, Marcus Aurelius advises maintaining calmness and composure in all social interactions, even when conflicts or disagreements arise. He emphasizes repeatedly in meditations that getting angry, defensive, or upset in arguments or difficult conversations rarely achieves anything positive. Instead, Marcus encourages remaining composed, patient, and empathetic. He writes, "Keep hold of this alone and remember it. Each of us lives only in the present moment, this brief instant. The rest has either been lived already or is impossible to see." By reminding ourselves to stay fully present, Marcus teaches us to approach every interaction calmly and rationally. Rather than getting caught up in emotional drama or personal defensiveness, remaining present and calm allows you to respond wisely rather than react emotionally. Imagine a disagreement with a close friend or family member. If you respond calmly and respectfully rather than emotionally or defensively, the conversation becomes more productive and less painful. You're able to understand the other person's viewpoint clearly, even if you ultimately disagree. By following Marcus's advice, you build stronger relationships, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and maintain your emotional peace even when others lose theirs. Another valuable point Marcus Aurelius emphasizes is that you shouldn't take other people's behavior too personally. Often, we interpret someone's negative mood, irritation, or criticism as a personal attack against us, causing unnecessary emotional suffering. Marcus strongly advises against this habit, reminding himself frequently that other people's moods or actions are usually reflections of their own internal struggles, insecurities, or fears, rather than direct judgments of our worth. When you understand and internalize this Stoic insight, you're able to interact confidently and compassionately even with difficult or unpredictable people, because their negative moods no longer emotionally disturb you. Instead of immediately internalizing someone else's anger or irritation, you calmly recognize it as a temporary external condition, something completely separate from your own self-worth or happiness. Marcus Aurelius' teachings about relationships, forgiveness, criticism, and social interactions all revolve around maintaining healthy emotional detachment without losing your genuine care or compassion for others. By clearly distinguishing between your inner self-worth and external interactions, you're able to care deeply without becoming emotionally overwhelmed, angry, or bitter when conflicts inevitably arise. Marcus reminds us repeatedly that emotional balance in relationships is not about avoiding conflict or disagreements entirely. It's about responding wisely, calmly, and rationally when they occur. When you practice his Stoic approach consistently, you build stronger, healthier, and more satisfying relationships. At the same time, you protect your inner peace, emotional strength, and overall happiness from unnecessary turbulence or drama. Marcus's ancient wisdom remains powerful and practical today, teaching us clearly that relationships become most rewarding precisely when we approach them with wise emotional clarity, genuine compassion, and thoughtful composure. One of the most compelling examples of someone successfully applying Marcus Aurelius' Stoic philosophy to overcome extraordinary hardships is the remarkable story of Admiral James Stockdale. Stockdale was a United States Navy pilot who served during the Vietnam War. In 1965, his plane was shot down over North Vietnam and Stockdale was captured, becoming one of the highest-ranking American officers to become a prisoner of war. For the next 7.5 years, Stockdale endured unimaginable suffering: solitary confinement, torture, interrogation, starvation, and psychological torment. Yet despite this extreme adversity, Stockdale didn't lose hope, courage, or his sanity. Instead, he emerged stronger, wiser, and profoundly changed by his experience. Crediting his extraordinary resilience entirely to the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and the Stoic philosophy he studied years before becoming a prisoner. What makes Stockdale's story so powerful is how practically and vividly he implemented Marcus Aurelius' lessons during his imprisonment. Stockdale had studied philosophy as a student at Stanford University, where he encountered Stoicism and read Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. When Stockdale parachuted into enemy territory and was captured, he realized he was entering a situation that was completely out of his control. But he also knew, thanks to Marcus Aurelius, that while he couldn't control what his captors would do to him physically, he still controlled his own mind, reactions, and dignity. Stockdale often said that he repeated Marcus's words in his mind to remain sane. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This simple yet powerful lesson became Stockdale's daily practice. He chose deliberately not to become bitter, angry, or hopeless, despite constant brutality. Instead, he focused solely on what was within his power, maintaining his integrity, refusing to betray fellow prisoners, and preserving his sense of humanity. James Stockdale also frequently used the Stoic technique of negative visualization, something Marcus Aurelius strongly recommended. Every day, Stockdale visualized and mentally prepared himself for the worst, imagining how he would calmly endure torture, isolation, or severe hunger without losing his inner peace or self-respect. Negative visualization helped him mentally rehearse and emotionally prepare for each brutal interrogation or punishment, significantly reducing his fear and anxiety. It allowed Stockdale to enter these terrifying situations with calm acceptance rather than panic or desperation. His Vietnamese captors were often astonished by Stockdale's unbreakable composure, calmness, and courage, even under extreme physical torture. Stockdale's remarkable resilience not only inspired his fellow prisoners, but also greatly frustrated his captors, who hoped he would break emotionally. His daily Stoic practice enabled him to preserve his dignity, leadership, and sanity, despite incredible physical and psychological pressure. Another powerful lesson Stockdale applied directly from Marcus Aurelius was the practice of accepting reality exactly as it was, without wasting emotional energy wishing things were different. Instead of imagining unrealistic scenarios or falsely optimistic rescue plans, Stockdale accepted his situation clearly and soberly. He acknowledged he might remain a prisoner for many years or even never make it home again. This Stoic acceptance wasn't pessimistic, it was realistic and practical. Stockdale understood clearly that the fastest path to despair was hoping blindly for quick rescue or believing his suffering would soon end, only to be crushed repeatedly by disappointment. Instead, by embracing reality fully, Stockdale was able to set realistic goals, surviving each day with integrity, helping other prisoners endure, and maintaining a stable inner world that his captors could not touch. His emotional resilience increased tremendously by consistently practicing acceptance rather than living in false hope or self-deception. Stockdale also practiced Marcus Aurelius's lesson about emotional detachment and caring wisely. Although he deeply cared about his fellow prisoners and desperately wanted to see his family again, he refused to allow external events, even incredibly important ones, to dictate his emotional state. He knew that obsessively worrying about his family or fearing for his own survival would only weaken his mental strength and diminish his capacity to endure hardship. Instead, he maintained a healthy Stoic detachment, loving his family deeply but accepting that he might never see them again. By deliberately choosing emotional detachment, Stockdale preserved his inner peace, making himself emotionally unbreakable in the face of terrifying uncertainty. Stockdale's incredible story provides powerful lessons that each of us can immediately apply in our daily lives. Even though most of us will never face anything remotely as extreme as his experience. First, clearly distinguishing what you control from what you don't is critical for emotional resilience. Whenever you're facing stress, anxiety, or uncertainty, ask yourself directly, what's in my power and what's outside of it? Stockdale's example reminds us that while we often can't control external outcomes, job losses, breakups, criticism, we always control how we respond mentally and emotionally. Second, regularly practicing negative visualization, as Stockdale did, prepares you mentally for life's inevitable hardships. Take time occasionally to imagine losing something valuable, your job, a relationship, your health, and mentally rehearse how you would calmly handle it. Rather than making you anxious, this practice significantly reduces fear, makes you mentally stronger, and deepens your gratitude for what you currently have. Third, embracing Stoic acceptance helps you maintain emotional clarity, even when reality feels unfair or difficult. Instead of fighting against your situation emotionally, acknowledge clearly what's happening without denial or bitterness, and then focus your energy practically on solutions and next steps. Whether it's losing a job, facing criticism, or enduring difficult life transitions, acceptance dramatically improves your emotional strength. Lastly, Stockdale's practice of emotional detachment and wise caring is an invaluable lesson for maintaining healthy relationships, dealing with criticism, and managing societal pressures. Always care deeply, but avoid emotional dependency on external approval, outcomes, or validation. This Stoic balance greatly enhances your emotional resilience and inner peace. Ultimately, James Stockdale's inspiring story demonstrates vividly and practically how Marcus Aurelius's philosophy can transform hardship into strength, resilience, and wisdom. Stockdale didn't merely survive extreme adversity. He emerged stronger, wiser, and more deeply human precisely because he consciously applied Marcus's lessons each day. His remarkable resilience, clarity, and courage are powerful testaments to Stoicism's profound and lasting value, providing each of us practical strategies to face life's inevitable challenges calmly, courageously, and confidently. Marcus Aurelius's ancient wisdom isn't merely theoretical. As Stockdale proved, it's an incredibly practical and powerful way to live, enabling ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances to become genuinely unbreakable. We've covered a great deal of ground together, exploring the profound yet highly practical teachings of Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers. At its heart, Marcus's wisdom boils down to one powerful idea. True strength, peace, and happiness come from caring less about external circumstances and more about your inner character, choices, and mindset. Throughout this video, we've discovered why placing your self-worth in external validation or outcomes only makes you anxious, unhappy, and fragile. Marcus Aurelius clearly taught that genuine inner strength arises from focusing entirely on what you control, your thoughts, actions, reactions, and virtues, while calmly accepting the rest. We've learned about powerful Stoic techniques that Marcus himself practiced daily. The dichotomy of control helps us clearly separate what we control from what we don't, freeing us from anxiety. Daily journaling, inspired by Marcus's meditations, guides us toward deeper self-awareness, emotional clarity, and continuous personal growth. Negative visualization mentally prepares us for inevitable hardships, making us stronger and more grateful for life's blessings. And voluntary discomfort regularly reminds us that true happiness doesn't depend on external comfort or luxury. It comes from inner resilience and self-mastery. By consistently practicing these techniques, you actively build emotional resilience and unshakable inner stability. We've also explored Marcus Aurelius's powerful advice on relationships and social interactions, learning how to deeply care about others without becoming emotionally dependent or overwhelmed. Marcus taught us clearly that healthy relationships require emotional clarity, compassion, forgiveness, and calmness, qualities strengthened by Stoic detachment. By choosing not to internalize criticism or negativity, you maintain your emotional peace even in challenging interactions, allowing you to approach relationships confidently and compassionately rather than defensively or anxiously. James Stockdale's extraordinary story vividly showed how practical and life-changing Marcus Aurelius's teachings can be. Stockdale's emotional resilience, courage, and inner stability in the face of extreme adversity demonstrate that Stoicism isn't mere philosophy. It's a profoundly practical toolkit for navigating life's toughest challenges. His remarkable ability to endure hardship and remain emotionally unbreakable serves as a powerful proof that Marcus's wisdom can radically transform your life if consistently applied. Now it's your turn to put these insights into action. I encourage you to immediately begin practicing these powerful Stoic techniques in your own life. Start journaling daily, reflecting honestly on your experiences and emotions. Regularly remind yourself of the dichotomy of control, clearly identifying what's within your power and what's not. Take brief moments to practice negative visualization, mentally preparing yourself for potential difficulties. Experiment with voluntary discomfort, gently challenging your comfort zone to grow emotionally stronger. These actions don't require major lifestyle changes, just consistent daily commitment. The more you practice, the deeper your resilience, clarity, and inner strength will become. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that becoming truly unbreakable is not about never experiencing setbacks, failures, or criticism. Instead, it's about learning to handle these inevitabilities wisely, calmly, and courageously. Stoicism teaches us clearly that genuine emotional resilience arises from cultivating internal virtues like courage, honesty, self-discipline, patience, and humility. These inner qualities remain completely within your control and form a rock-solid foundation for lasting happiness, no matter how chaotic or unpredictable life becomes. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By consistently applying Marcus Aurelius's teachings, you'll gradually stop relying on external validation or outcomes for happiness. Instead, you'll discover profound peace, joy, and emotional stability in your internal integrity, virtue, and character. You'll care less about superficial things and more about what truly matters, living a meaningful, virtuous life on your own terms. Ultimately, Marcus Aurelius offers us a clear roadmap for becoming emotionally strong, deeply calm, and genuinely unbreakable. All that's required is your willingness to begin this journey now. Start today, embrace Stoicism's wisdom, practice its lessons regularly, and unlock your incredible potential to thrive confidently, courageously, and joyfully, no matter what life brings your way. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering you've just won the lottery. Suddenly, you're richer than you ever dreamed possible. You immediately quit your stressful job, buy your dream house, travel the world, and surround yourself with every possible luxury. Life feels exhilarating at first, full of excitement, adventure, and non-stop pleasure. But now, fast forward 2 years. You're sitting alone in your huge mansion surrounded by expensive things, but something doesn't feel right. You still feel empty inside. The parties, the travels, the endless shopping, they no longer excite you. Instead, you're increasingly bored, restless, and even sad. How could it be possible to have everything you've ever wanted, yet still feel deeply unhappy? This scenario isn't merely hypothetical, it's a story repeated time and again, from celebrities to lottery winners who seemingly have it all, yet struggle with intense feelings of emptiness and despair. How can chasing pleasure and happiness lead to such dissatisfaction and unhappiness? This paradox is precisely what philosophers have grappled with for thousands of years through the lens of hedonism. But what exactly is hedonism? At its core, hedonism is the philosophical idea that pleasure is the highest good, the main purpose of human life. However, many people misunderstand hedonism, reducing it to pure indulgence. Images of endless partying, overeating, or reckless behavior spring to mind. But true hedonism isn't merely about excess. Instead, it includes thoughtful approaches such as Epicurean hedonism, which emphasizes moderation, mindfulness, friendship, and simple pleasures. Despite these nuanced interpretations, in today's world, pleasure often becomes distorted into endless consumption, chasing after the next thrill, the newest gadget, or the next exciting experience. As this video will show, when we make pleasure itself the ultimate aim of life, rather than a balanced part of it, we set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering. At first glance, pleasure seems harmless, even healthy. After all, pleasure helps us unwind, motivates us, and enhances our quality of life. Yet paradoxically, if we prioritize pleasure above all else, it can become our greatest source of suffering. Constantly chasing the next dopamine rush, we find ourselves trapped in cycles of diminishing returns. Pleasure begins to feel shallow, fleeting, and unsatisfying. Each high quickly fades, leaving us craving something bigger and better, creating an endless loop of desire and dissatisfaction. We will explore several key questions that will help unravel this pleasure paradox. First, can pleasure actually harm us? Could pursuing happiness too intensely damage our mental health, lead to addiction, or cause emotional burnout? We'll then look deeper into the psychology behind why pleasure doesn't last. Why is it that no matter how thrilling an experience is, we quickly become bored or dissatisfied, eager to chase something else? Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we'll examine what healthier alternatives exist to pure pleasure seeking. If hedonism in its most extreme forms doesn't fulfill us, what can we aim for instead? How can we live happier, more meaningful lives without falling victim to the relentless pursuit of pleasure? By addressing these questions, we'll gain powerful insights into human psychology, philosophy, and well-being. We'll uncover why the most pleasurable path isn't always the happiest one, and why, paradoxically, choosing pleasure wisely and sparingly can bring greater fulfillment than constant indulgence ever could. Together, let's dive into understanding how pleasure works, how it can turn against us, and how we might finally break free from its seductive trap. Hedonism, at its simplest, is the philosophical idea that pleasure is the most important thing in life. But what does that really mean? To fully grasp the depth and nuance of hedonism, we need to journey back to ancient Greece. The word itself comes from the Greek word hedon, which translates directly into English as pleasure or delight. Since its origins, hedonism has fascinated philosophers, guiding their thinking and their lifestyles in profound ways. The basic idea behind hedonism might seem intuitive and even appealing. Pleasure is good, pain is bad, and our lives should be structured to maximize the former and minimize the latter. But as we'll discover, there's much more to this philosophy than first meets the eye. In ancient Greece, two main schools of hedonism emerged, led by two influential philosophers, Aristippus and Epicurus. Aristippus, a student of Socrates, founded what's called Cyrenaic hedonism. Aristippus believed strongly that life is uncertain and fleeting, and thus the only reliable good we have is immediate pleasure. He taught that physical, sensual pleasures such as eating, drinking, comfort, and physical intimacy should be pursued without hesitation. Aristippus encouraged people to fully embrace the present moment and savor the joys immediately available, arguing that tomorrow's happiness is never guaranteed. This approach places emphasis on spontaneity and the senses, suggesting that immediate gratification is the most rational response to life's unpredictability. While this philosophy might sound exciting or liberating, it has been criticized for potentially leading to impulsiveness, short-sightedness, and even self-destructive behavior. On the other hand, Epicurus, perhaps the most famous advocate of hedonism, took a very different approach. Epicurean hedonism is thoughtful, measured, and deeply reflective. Epicurus didn't argue for unlimited indulgence. Instead, he believed the key to lasting happiness was moderation and simplicity. For Epicurus, not all pleasures are equal. Some pleasures, like friendship, peace of mind, intellectual pursuits, and simple comforts, are stable and lasting. Others, particularly extravagant luxuries or uncontrolled sensory experiences, tend to lead to pain or anxiety in the long run. Epicurus argued that the best way to achieve lasting happiness was to thoughtfully select pleasures that don't lead to future suffering, like forming meaningful relationships, engaging in satisfying and stable hobbies, and enjoying simple pleasures, such as a quiet meal shared with friends. This moderate view emphasizes the importance of mental tranquility and long-term happiness, contrasting sharply with Aristippus's immediate gratification mindset. Jumping ahead many centuries to the 18th and 19th centuries, philosophers like Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill developed these ancient ideas further, creating what became known as utilitarianism. Bentham suggested that pleasure and pain guide all human actions, proposing the famous principle of utility, which states we should strive for the greatest amount of happiness for the greatest number of people. Mill, Bentham's student, refined these ideas further, emphasizing the difference between higher and lower pleasures. He famously argued it is better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied, suggesting intellectual and emotional pleasures are superior and more fulfilling than purely physical ones. These philosophical discussions shaped how entire societies view happiness and morality, influencing modern thinking about human rights, ethics, and policy making. To fully understand hedonism, we also need to distinguish between two important forms: psychological hedonism and ethical hedonism. Psychological hedonism is descriptive. It simply observes and describes human behavior. According to psychological hedonism, humans naturally seek pleasure and avoid pain. It's not telling us how we should behave, only how we typically do behave. It's an observation about human nature rather than a moral guideline. Ethical hedonism, on the other hand, is prescriptive. It tells us how we should live our lives. Ethical hedonism argues that because pleasure is good, we ought to actively pursue it and structure our lives around obtaining happiness and avoiding pain. It provides a moral direction, suggesting pleasure is the ultimate criterion for right and wrong actions. Understanding this difference is crucial, as it explains why hedonism can be viewed both as an observation of human psychology and as a guiding principle for how we should live. But why does any of this matter in the modern world? In today's society, hedonistic ideas are everywhere, sometimes explicitly, often subtly influencing our daily choices. Take social media, for example. Platforms like Instagram or TikTok are designed around instant gratification, tapping into our brain's reward system with endless scrolling, constant notifications, likes, comments, and validation. Each dopamine hit from a new follower or viral post delivers immediate pleasure, but it quickly fades, leaving us craving more. This reflects a modern manifestation of Cyrenaic hedonism, prioritizing instant pleasure without deeper thought about long-term consequences. Similarly, consumer culture thrives on this principle. Companies advertise products as keys to happiness, persuading us to chase after the newest gadgets, stylish clothes, or luxury vacations, always promising a joy that rarely lasts. We accumulate objects and experiences in a desperate attempt to capture happiness, but each new purchase becomes ordinary and unsatisfying all too quickly. Conversely, Epicurean hedonism still quietly persists today, offering a calmer and potentially more sustainable approach. Its principles are evident in movements advocating minimalism, mindfulness, or slow living, trends increasingly popular among those overwhelmed by fast-paced modern life. Practices such as meditation, spending quality time with loved ones, cooking a simple homemade meal, or reading a good book emphasize pleasure that's meaningful, lasting, and doesn't depend heavily on external validation. These activities encourage us to slow down, to find fulfillment not in constant novelty, but in stability and simplicity, just as Epictetus taught thousands of years ago. Recognizing how hedonism influences modern life helps us become aware of our unconscious pursuits and allows us to evaluate whether they genuinely lead us toward lasting happiness. These ancient philosophical concepts are not just theoretical. They affect how we use technology, spend money, pursue careers, and even how we structure our relationships. When we see how often society pushes immediate gratification over lasting well-being, we begin to understand why so many people, despite achieving great pleasures and comforts, still feel dissatisfied, empty, or anxious. Understanding these philosophical ideas empowers us to reflect carefully on our own lives and choices, making us better equipped to pursue genuine, sustainable happiness. Have you ever noticed how quickly the excitement from getting something new fades away? Maybe you bought a brand new smartphone, feeling thrilled by its sleek design, fast performance, and amazing camera. At first, it feels incredible, almost magical. But within just a few weeks or maybe even days, it suddenly feels completely normal, almost boring. This is what psychologists call hedonic adaptation, or more popularly, The hedonic treadmill. It describes the tendency for people to quickly return to a stable level of happiness, no matter how positive or negative the event they experience. In simpler terms, we get used to things really fast. Even the greatest pleasures, whether it's a new car, a dream vacation, or landing an amazing job, soon lose their power to make us feel happier. This explains why the happiness we chase never seems to last very long. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon extensively, demonstrating repeatedly how powerful and universal hedonic adaptation really is. In one famous study conducted by psychologists Philip Brickman, Dan Coates, and Ronnie Janoff-Bullman in 1978, researchers compared the happiness levels of lottery winners with those of ordinary people. At first glance, you might think winning millions of dollars would instantly guarantee long-lasting joy, and indeed initially, the lottery winners reported feeling incredibly happy. But after just a year, researchers found something surprising. These same lottery winners weren't significantly happier than ordinary people who hadn't won anything. In fact, many reported similar or even lower levels of day-to-day happiness. How could that be possible? These winners had become adapted, used to their newfound wealth and lifestyle. The big house, the fancy car, the luxury vacations, all these pleasures had quickly become the new normal, leaving them no happier than they were before they hit the jackpot. This effect isn't limited to lottery winners. Another classic example is people who suddenly become famous or extremely wealthy, like Hollywood celebrities or successful musicians. Initially, fame and wealth seem like the perfect path to everlasting happiness. After all, it looks glamorous from the outside. But countless stories of famous celebrities battling depression, loneliness, and dissatisfaction tell a different story. Despite having millions of fans, endless money, and the freedom to buy almost anything they desire, these individuals often find themselves feeling empty and restless. Why? Because the excitement and novelty of being famous quickly fades away, leaving them trapped in a cycle of chasing the next thrill, the next achievement, or the next high, always hoping to regain that initial sense of joy. Unfortunately, the more we chase after these fleeting pleasures, the quicker we adapt and feel dissatisfied again. The hedonic treadmill doesn't only apply to big events or massive life changes. It impacts even our smallest daily pleasures. Think about something as simple as eating your favorite food. Imagine eating pizza or ice cream every day. The first few times would probably be amazing, delightful, even thrilling. But soon enough, you'd find yourself feeling bored or even sick of it. This quick adaptation means you're constantly seeking something new, different, or more intense just to feel the same level of enjoyment. It's why many of us endlessly scroll through Netflix or social media, always searching for something better. But this constant search rarely leads to satisfaction. It often leads to feelings of restlessness, frustration, and boredom instead. We are constantly chasing happiness, yet happiness seems forever just out of reach. This adaptation mechanism creates a fundamental and challenging problem. No matter how many pleasures we seek or how much happiness we manage to achieve temporarily, we inevitably return to our original state of happiness or unhappiness. Because our baseline happiness tends to remain stable over time, big improvements in our lives provide only short-term boosts in joy. This leaves us constantly feeling like genuine happiness is right around the corner if only we could reach it. So we try to chase pleasure after pleasure, each promising permanent satisfaction, yet each ultimately failing to deliver. This endless cycle of chasing and adaptation creates constant dissatisfaction, always feeling like something essential is missing from our lives, even when we have plenty. Moreover, the hedonic treadmill creates the illusion that happiness is something external, something we can catch or acquire through possessions, achievements, or experiences. We start believing that once we get the next thing, a promotion, a better job, a nicer house, a new relationship, then we'll finally be happy. But every single time, reality proves this idea false. The pleasure quickly fades, and we adapt, resetting our happiness back to baseline. We end up living in a perpetual state of waiting for the next event to finally make us permanently happy. The sad irony is that this illusion prevents us from appreciating what we already have, leaving us stuck in constant dissatisfaction, forever wanting something more, something different, something new. Understanding this treadmill effect can be incredibly valuable because it explains why so many people who seem to have it all remain deeply unhappy. This insight helps us realize that lasting happiness doesn't come from endlessly chasing pleasures or trying to accumulate wealth and possessions. Instead, it suggests happiness might come from something deeper and more stable, something less dependent on changing circumstances or fleeting experiences. By recognizing the existence and power of hedonic adaptation, we can begin to rethink our own pursuit of happiness. We can shift our attention away from external pleasures that quickly fade and towards internal states of contentment and gratitude, which have been shown to resist hedonic adaptation much better. Gratitude, for example, has been studied as a powerful antidote to hedonic adaptation. When we regularly practice gratitude, appreciating the good things we already have, it prevents us from becoming too used to our comforts and pleasures. Rather than always looking for what's next, gratitude helps us truly enjoy and appreciate what's here now. Similarly, mindfulness practices, learning to savor and fully experience pleasures as they happen, can enhance our happiness by slowing down our adaptation. These practices don't eliminate hedonic adaptation entirely, but they significantly reduce its negative effects. By shifting our mindset from constant pursuit to mindful appreciation, we can begin stepping off the treadmill, discovering more lasting happiness in everyday experiences. Ultimately, the hedonic treadmill teaches us a powerful lesson. No amount of external pleasure alone can permanently satisfy us. Pleasure itself isn't inherently bad, but when pleasure-seeking becomes our sole strategy for happiness, we inevitably find ourselves trapped in an exhausting cycle of excitement, boredom, and dissatisfaction. The real challenge and opportunity is finding happiness in ways that don't leave us constantly needing more. To truly understand why chasing pleasure can lead to unhappiness, it's essential to dive into how pleasure actually works in our brains. Pleasure isn't just a vague feeling we experience. It has a real biological basis involving specific chemicals and pathways in our brains. At the heart of this system is dopamine, often called the pleasure neurotransmitter. Dopamine is a chemical messenger produced by our brains that helps neurons communicate with each other. It's deeply involved in how we experience reward, motivation, and pleasure. When something enjoyable happens, whether eating delicious food, watching a funny video, or receiving praise, our brain releases dopamine. This surge of dopamine signals our brain to recognize the activity as rewarding, encouraging us to repeat it in the future. But dopamine isn't just about feeling good, it's also about motivating us. When we anticipate something rewarding, dopamine levels rise, creating excitement and expectation. For instance, imagine seeing your favorite food arriving at your table when you're extremely hungry. Even before taking your first bite, dopamine floods your brain, creating intense anticipation. This anticipation itself feels pleasurable, urging you to take action. Evolutionarily, dopamine served an essential purpose by encouraging behaviors vital for survival, like eating nutritious foods or forming social bonds. However, today, in a world full of instant gratification and endless distractions, this same reward system often leads us into trouble. This powerful reward system is precisely what makes dopamine-driven behaviors potentially dangerous. Because dopamine feels good, we naturally seek experiences or substances that release large amounts of it. Social media platforms, sugary foods, addictive substances like alcohol or drugs, all these things trigger rapid, powerful dopamine surges, making them incredibly appealing and even addictive. For instance, every notification on your smartphone triggers a small dopamine spike in your brain, rewarding you for checking your phone and scrolling through your feed. Over time, your brain starts craving these dopamine hits more and more, creating a powerful loop. Each time you get another like, another message, or see another interesting post, your dopamine levels spike, reinforcing the behavior of constantly checking and scrolling. However, there's a dark side to these dopamine-driven behaviors. The problem begins when our brain adapts to these artificially high levels of dopamine. Remember the hedonic treadmill we discussed earlier? The same thing happens in your brain's reward pathways. Over time, as your brain gets used to these constant dopamine surges, it becomes less sensitive. This is known as tolerance, where your brain gradually requires more intense stimulation to achieve the same pleasure. Consider someone who loves playing video games. Initially, just playing occasionally brings joy, but as they start playing every day for hours, they notice the game isn't as exciting as before. To regain that original excitement, they may start playing even more or looking for more intense games, chasing a high that's increasingly hard to achieve. This cycle of diminishing returns can quickly spiral into addictive or compulsive behaviors. The more dopamine your brain is exposed to, the more it expects, leading you to seek increasingly intense stimuli. This mechanism explains why social media apps are designed with endless scrolling features, colorful visuals, and rapid-fire rewards, each feature specifically engineered to maximize dopamine release and keep users hooked. It also explains substance addiction, why people become dependent on alcohol, nicotine, or drugs. The brain demands ever-increasing amounts just to feel normal, let alone good. When dopamine levels drop below these artificially elevated baselines, individuals experience withdrawal, feelings of anxiety, sadness, emptiness, or depression, driving them to desperately seek another hit. In fact, psychological studies provide clear evidence of this phenomenon. In experiments involving animals, researchers found that rats would repeatedly press levers to stimulate dopamine release in their brains, often ignoring food, water, or even sleep to keep getting dopamine hits. This alarming behavior illustrates just how powerful dopamine-driven pleasure-seeking can become, even leading animals and humans to neglect their basic needs. Similarly, human studies involving smartphone use demonstrate how dopamine shapes behavior. Notifications trigger measurable spikes in dopamine, reinforcing constant checking and scrolling, resulting in addictive patterns similar to substance abuse. Over time, chasing dopamine leads to more severe consequences than just diminishing returns. It can contribute to serious mental health issues like anxiety and depression. Here's how. As dopamine levels become increasingly hard to maintain, the contrast between high dopamine states and low dopamine states grows larger. When you stop engaging in dopamine-driven activities, like putting down your phone or ending a gaming session, dopamine levels fall dramatically, leaving you feeling empty, anxious, or depressed. This cycle reinforces a compulsive pattern. Returning to the dopamine-triggering behavior becomes the only way to temporarily relieve negative feelings, further deepening addiction and emotional instability. A real-world example of dopamine-driven problems is the rise in anxiety and depression among heavy social media users. Research consistently shows a strong link between extensive social media use and declining mental health, particularly among teenagers. A study published in the journal Computers and Human Behavior in 2017 demonstrated that individuals who checked social media more frequently throughout the day reported significantly higher levels of anxiety and dissatisfaction with life. Each notification provided a brief dopamine spike, but when these notifications stopped or slowed down, participants experienced increased anxiety and feelings of worthlessness, reinforcing the addictive cycle. Understanding dopamine's role in pleasure helps us recognize why simply pursuing pleasure endlessly often backfires. Pleasure-seeking behaviors, especially those driven by rapid dopamine hits, like constantly refreshing social media feeds, binge-watching TV, overeating sugary foods, or abusing addictive substances, become self-defeating. Rather than delivering lasting satisfaction, they create ever-increasing cycles of craving, disappointment, and emotional distress. What initially seems pleasurable quickly becomes compulsive, ultimately robbing us of real joy and peace of mind. However, there's hope. By becoming aware of dopamine's influence, we can consciously break free from these destructive cycles. Practices like digital detoxes, intentionally limiting smartphone and social media usage, have proven effective in restoring dopamine sensitivity and improving emotional stability. Activities that naturally regulate dopamine, such as exercise, meditation, or engaging in meaningful hobbies, help rebuild healthier reward pathways, reducing compulsive behaviors, and improving overall mental well-being. Psychologists and neuroscientists emphasize that achieving lasting happiness isn't about chasing dopamine highs. It's about understanding and managing our brain's reward system, making thoughtful choices about where we seek pleasure, and building healthier, more sustainable habits. By better understanding the neuroscience of pleasure, we become empowered to make wiser decisions that lead not just to temporary highs, but to lasting satisfaction and genuine happiness. In today's world, it often feels like we're constantly being told we must always feel happy, cheerful, and optimistic, no matter what. Everywhere we look, especially on social media, we see smiling faces, perfect lives, incredible vacations, and seemingly flawless relationships. This creates an impression that happiness isn't just desirable, it's practically mandatory. We live in a culture obsessed with feeling good, creating immense pressure to maintain a constant state of positivity. This idea that we should always be happy, optimistic, and joyful, even when we're facing difficult or painful situations, is what psychologists call toxic positivity. It might seem harmless or even helpful at first. After all, isn't positivity supposed to be a good thing? But in reality, this relentless demand for positivity often ends up doing more harm than good. Social media plays a huge role in perpetuating this unrealistic standard. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook are filled with highly edited snapshots of people's best moments. We rarely see the struggles, disappointments, or setbacks behind these perfect-looking images. Instead, what we witness daily are curated glimpses of happiness. People on luxurious vacations, friends laughing together at stylish cafes, couples sharing romantic moments, or influencers showcasing their amazing lives. When we constantly see others seemingly thriving, we naturally begin to compare our real lives, full of ups and downs, boredom, stress, and sadness, with their idealized highlights. This comparison can create immense pressure, convincing us that anything less than constant happiness means we're somehow failing or falling short. The reality, though, is that what we see online isn't real life. It's carefully selected and edited moments, masking deeper truths and struggles everyone inevitably faces. This unrealistic expectation to always feel happy can have serious consequences for our mental health and well-being. When we internalize the idea that we must always be positive, we often start feeling guilty or ashamed whenever we experience negative emotions. Sadness, anxiety, frustration, loneliness, all these completely natural emotions begin to feel unacceptable or wrong. Rather than acknowledging and exploring our feelings, we try to push them away or hide them, pretending they don't exist. For example, imagine you're feeling sad after a breakup or anxious about an upcoming test. Rather than expressing your true feelings or seeking comfort, you might find yourself saying things like, "I shouldn't feel this way," or "others have it much worse." You might even fake smiles or pretend to be okay just to avoid showing vulnerability or negativity. This emotional suppression doesn't eliminate negative feelings. It only buries them deeper, where they continue to cause harm. Psychological research has repeatedly shown that suppressing or ignoring negative emotions can lead to more severe mental health issues, including anxiety disorders, depression, and chronic stress. Emotions don't simply disappear because we choose to ignore them. Instead, they build up over time, causing emotional exhaustion, burnout, or even physical illness. Consider a student who struggles with schoolwork or friendship issues but constantly forces themselves to appear cheerful and positive. Rather than seeking support, they might hide their true feelings behind smiles or forced positivity, afraid they'll disappoint others or be judged for expressing genuine sadness or stress. Over time, this student might become emotionally overwhelmed, isolated, or deeply unhappy, precisely because they felt unable or unwilling to openly acknowledge and confront their true feelings. Toxic positivity also damages our relationships. When we refuse to acknowledge or validate negative feelings, either our own or others, we make genuine emotional connections difficult. Imagine telling a friend about feeling sad or overwhelmed only to hear responses like, "Just cheer up," or "You have nothing to be sad about." Rather than feeling comforted, you might feel dismissed, misunderstood, or even more isolated. Genuine relationships depend on emotional honesty and vulnerability, being willing to share and support each other through difficult emotions, not just the easy ones. By creating an environment where negative emotions are ignored or judged, toxic positivity prevents meaningful, authentic connections from forming, leaving us feeling increasingly lonely and disconnected. So what's the healthier alternative? Instead of pretending negative feelings don't exist or viewing them as shameful, it's crucial to recognize them as completely natural and necessary parts of human experience. Sadness, anxiety, anger, and disappointment aren't signs of weakness or failure. They're simply human emotions that everyone experiences. Each of these emotions serves an important purpose. Sadness helps us process loss and disappointment. Anxiety alerts us to possible threats or challenges. Anger helps us set boundaries or address unfair treatment. And disappointment helps us learn and grow from mistakes. Ignoring or suppressing these emotions denies us valuable insights and growth opportunities. Accepting negative emotions doesn't mean we should dwell on them indefinitely or become overwhelmed by them. It simply means acknowledging their existence openly and honestly, giving ourselves permission to feel, express, and process these feelings in healthy ways. Research has shown that practicing emotional acceptance, allowing ourselves to genuinely experience and express emotions without judgment, actually reduces anxiety and depression, increases emotional resilience, and improves overall mental health. People who embrace emotional authenticity report stronger relationships, greater personal growth, and higher life satisfaction compared to those who engage in toxic positivity. Practically, emotional acceptance involves simple but powerful steps. For example, next time you feel sad or anxious, instead of immediately trying to dismiss or hide these feelings, pause and allow yourself to recognize them. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Why might I feel this way? Simply naming and validating your emotions can significantly reduce their intensity and help you better understand yourself. It's also helpful to communicate your feelings honestly with someone you trust, such as a friend, family member, or counselor. Sharing negative emotions openly, rather than hiding behind forced positivity, creates opportunities for genuine connection, support, and emotional relief. By understanding that negative emotions are normal, healthy, and necessary, we free ourselves from the pressure of constant positivity. Embracing emotional authenticity helps us build stronger connections, better mental health, and deeper self-awareness. Remember, True happiness isn't about always feeling good. It's about fully experiencing life's ups and downs, learning to manage emotions healthily, and building genuine, meaningful relationships along the way. Throughout history, philosophers have often raised important critiques about the pursuit of pleasure as life's main goal. Among these critics, Friedrich Nietzsche stands out for his provocative and compelling views. Nietzsche believed strongly in personal growth, strength, and resilience, and he famously argued that constantly chasing pleasure and comfort could actually weaken us. His famous quote, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger," isn't just a catchy phrase. It represents Nietzsche's deeper belief that challenges, struggles, and even pain are crucial to our development and growth as individuals. According to Nietzsche, confronting hardships directly and overcoming difficulties builds inner strength, wisdom, and character. On the other hand, constantly seeking easy pleasures and avoiding discomfort at all costs prevents us from ever truly developing as human beings. Nietzsche warned about the dangers of comfort and ease, calling them traps that hinder our ability to become better, stronger, and wiser. When we continuously avoid anything challenging or uncomfortable, choosing instead immediate, easy pleasures, we become weak, passive, and dependent. We lose our ability to handle difficult situations effectively, becoming easily frustrated or overwhelmed whenever life doesn't go according to plan. Consider someone who never leaves their comfort zone. Perhaps they always stay in familiar places, refuse to try new things, or avoid any activities that seem difficult or uncomfortable. Initially, their life might feel safe and pleasant. However, over time, this comfortable existence becomes limiting, empty, and ultimately unsatisfying. They never develop new skills or abilities, never discover their full potential, and rarely experience the deep satisfaction that comes from genuinely overcoming challenges. For Nietzsche, this kind of life, defined by constant comfort and ease, wasn't truly living at all. Nietzsche also believed that real fulfillment and happiness come from pursuing meaningful goals and overcoming genuine obstacles, not merely seeking endless pleasures. True satisfaction, according to him, arises when we set challenging goals for ourselves, experience setbacks or difficulties along the way, but persevere and ultimately succeed. This kind of pleasure, the pleasure of accomplishment, growth, and self-improvement, is far deeper and more lasting than mere comfort or sensory enjoyment. Nietzsche's ideas suggest that by embracing difficulties rather than avoiding them, we not only become stronger, more capable individuals, but also experience more genuine happiness in the long run. Instead of chasing fleeting pleasures, Nietzsche encourages us to find pleasure in personal growth, in becoming someone stronger, wiser, and better each day. Interestingly, Nietzsche's views share some similarities and important differences with another influential philosophical tradition, Stoicism. The Stoics, ancient philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, held their own powerful critiques of pleasure. While Nietzsche emphasized personal growth through overcoming struggles, the Stoics believed that pleasure itself could become dangerously enslaving. They warned that constantly chasing pleasurable experiences inevitably leads to emotional dependence and loss of self-control. The Stoics argued that becoming overly attached to pleasures, whether comfort, wealth, status, or sensory experiences, ultimately robs us of true freedom and independence. For the Stoics, real happiness doesn't come from external pleasures, but rather from inner virtue, wisdom, and emotional resilience. One key Stoic insight is their belief that happiness shouldn't depend on external circumstances, things we can't fully control, such as possessions, popularity, or physical pleasures. Instead, the Stoics insisted that genuine happiness must come from within, from developing virtues like courage, wisdom, moderation, and self-discipline. By cultivating these virtues, we free ourselves from relying on pleasure or external rewards to feel good. Imagine someone who is genuinely happy, content, and fulfilled regardless of whether they experience pleasure or discomfort. Such a person would remain calm, steady, and balanced even in challenging or uncomfortable situations, because their happiness isn't dependent on external conditions. The Stoics believed that cultivating this internal independence and emotional stability is the true path to lasting happiness. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics, despite their differences, offer incredibly valuable insights into overcoming harmful pleasure-seeking habits. Nietzsche challenges us to see discomfort and struggle as opportunities for growth rather than as threats to avoid. This perspective helps us redefine what pleasure really means, shifting our focus from immediate gratification to long-term growth and satisfaction. The Stoics, meanwhile, encourage us to develop internal emotional strength and resilience rather than becoming enslaved by external pleasures. By embracing Stoic wisdom, we can learn to appreciate life's pleasures without becoming overly dependent on them. Both philosophies remind us that real happiness doesn't come from simply experiencing more and more pleasures, but from becoming better, wiser, stronger individuals. Consider, for instance, a high school student preparing for a challenging test. A purely pleasure-seeking approach might lead them to avoid studying altogether, opting instead for immediate pleasures like gaming, watching videos, or chatting with friends. While enjoyable in the short term, this approach eventually leads to disappointment, anxiety, and regret when they perform poorly. Nietzsche would encourage the student to embrace the challenge of studying hard, recognizing that the temporary discomfort of hard work ultimately leads to lasting pleasure and pride when they succeed. Similarly, a Stoic approach would encourage the student to cultivate inner discipline, reminding them that real happiness comes from developing virtues like wisdom, self-control, and resilience, not simply from immediate gratification. Applying these philosophical perspectives in daily life means actively choosing meaningful challenges, even when they're difficult or uncomfortable, because we recognize their potential to help us grow. It also means cultivating virtues like courage, wisdom, and moderation, which protect us from becoming overly dependent on external pleasures. Rather than constantly chasing after temporary happiness, we can choose to invest in ourselves, focusing on long-term growth and emotional stability. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics encourage us to redefine our relationship with pleasure, not as something to pursue endlessly, but as something to appreciate mindfully, selectively, and in balance with other important aspects of life. By understanding and integrating these philosophical critiques into our lives, we gain powerful tools to overcome harmful pleasure-seeking behaviors. Nietzsche reminds us that genuine happiness often involves embracing challenges and discomforts as opportunities for growth. The Stoics remind us of the importance of inner virtue and emotional independence. Both perspectives help us break free from the endless, exhausting cycle of chasing pleasure, guiding us toward deeper, more lasting forms of happiness. Ultimately, these philosophical insights teach us that true fulfillment comes not from avoiding discomfort, but from confronting it courageously, thoughtfully, and purposefully, transforming life's inevitable struggles into meaningful opportunities for personal growth and happiness. If chasing constant pleasure isn't the answer to true happiness, then what is? Philosophers and psychologists have explored this question extensively, proposing alternative paths that offer more sustainable, deeper, and lasting forms of fulfillment. One of the most powerful alternatives to pure hedonism is an ancient Greek concept known as eudaimonia. Unlike pleasure-based happiness, eudaimonia emphasizes finding happiness through meaningful living, pursuing personal growth, developing inner virtues, and contributing positively to the world around us. Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers of ancient Greece, believed that true happiness comes from living a life filled with purpose and meaning, where we actively strive to become better human beings and cultivate virtues like courage, wisdom, compassion, and integrity. Eudaimonia isn't about always feeling good or experiencing endless pleasure. Rather, it's about having a sense of purpose, fulfillment, and genuine satisfaction that comes from engaging in meaningful activities that align with our deepest values and strengths. Another balanced approach to happiness comes from the philosophy of Epicurus, whom we briefly discussed earlier. Epicurean philosophy emphasizes simplicity, moderation, mindfulness, and cultivating meaningful relationships. Epicurus taught that genuine pleasure isn't about extravagance or endless sensory experiences. Instead, it's about appreciating life's simplest joys, sharing meals with good friends, spending quiet moments in nature, or engaging in thoughtful reflection. Epicurus believed that moderation is crucial to happiness because excessive pleasure-seeking always leads to anxiety, disappointment, and ultimately unhappiness. By living simply, practicing mindfulness, and focusing on meaningful relationships rather than material possessions or immediate thrills, we can experience lasting contentment and emotional peace. Modern psychology supports this Epicurean approach, consistently finding that individuals who live simpler, more mindful lives, prioritizing relationships and meaningful experiences, report greater overall happiness and emotional well-being. But how can we practically apply these ideas in everyday life? One of the simplest yet most powerful practices supported by modern psychology is mindfulness. Mindfulness involves actively paying attention to the present moment, fully experiencing each sensation, emotion, and thought without judgment. Mindfulness exercises, such as deep breathing, meditation, or simply taking moments to slow down and consciously savor daily experiences, help us escape the trap of constantly seeking external stimulation and pleasure. For example, instead of quickly devouring a meal while distracted by phones or TV, mindfulness encourages us to truly savor each bite, appreciating the flavors, textures, and sensations. This practice not only enhances immediate pleasure, but also helps prevent us from endlessly chasing new fleeting pleasures. Research shows mindfulness significantly improves emotional health, reducing anxiety, depression, and stress, while enhancing feelings of genuine happiness, contentment, and emotional resilience. Another practical step toward balanced happiness is pursuing meaningful, long-term goals rather than immediate pleasures. Meaningful goals give our lives direction, purpose, and a sense of accomplishment that far surpasses temporary pleasures. Unlike short-term pleasures, meaningful goals often require patience, persistence, and delayed gratification, qualities that build character, emotional resilience, and lasting happiness. Imagine someone working consistently toward mastering a musical instrument, completing a difficult educational program, or training for a marathon. Although these activities might not always feel pleasurable in the moment, they can involve frustration, setbacks, or fatigue. The deeper satisfaction and pride that come from achieving these long-term goals provide lasting joy and fulfillment. Psychological research confirms that people who regularly pursue and achieve meaningful goals report significantly higher levels of happiness, emotional stability, and satisfaction with life than those who focus solely on immediate pleasures. Building authentic, meaningful relationships is another critical component of balanced happiness. Humans are deeply social beings, and meaningful connections with others provide emotional support, happiness, and a sense of belonging that no amount of material or sensory pleasure can match. Authentic relationships require vulnerability, emotional honesty, and genuine care, qualities often absent in superficial interactions centered only around immediate pleasures. Practically, building meaningful relationships means actively investing time and effort into friendships, family relationships, and communities. It involves expressing emotions honestly, listening compassionately, supporting others during difficult times, and celebrating shared joys and achievements. Numerous psychological studies confirm the importance of meaningful relationships. Individuals who maintain strong social bonds consistently report higher emotional resilience, happiness, and life satisfaction than those who remain isolated or rely solely on superficial interactions or digital connections. In recent decades, positive psychology, a scientific field dedicated to understanding happiness and well-being, has provided substantial evidence supporting these balanced approaches. Positive psychologists like Martin Seligman and Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi discovered that lasting happiness doesn't come primarily from pleasure or material wealth. Instead, their research emphasizes concepts like meaning, engagement, and authentic relationships. Seligman identified three critical components of lasting happiness: positive emotions, enjoying life's pleasures in moderation; engagement, deeply involved in meaningful activities or experiences; and meaning, actively contributing to something bigger than ourselves. Similarly, Csikszentmihalyi's research into flow states, moments when people become completely absorbed in challenging, meaningful activities, demonstrates that people experience deep satisfaction and lasting happiness through meaningful engagement rather than passive pleasures. Furthermore, numerous studies validate Epicurean-style simplicity and mindfulness. Research consistently demonstrates that excessive consumption and materialism, endless buying, accumulating possessions, or seeking extravagant pleasures are strongly linked to anxiety, dissatisfaction, and decreased happiness. Conversely, individuals who practice moderation, live simply, and regularly practice mindfulness report significantly greater emotional well-being, contentment, and life satisfaction. Studies confirm that mindfulness practices reduce stress, improve emotional regulation, and even change brain structures related to emotional resilience and positive emotional states. Ultimately, these balanced approaches, rooted in philosophy and supported by modern psychology, offer practical, effective ways to experience genuine, lasting happiness. By focusing less on immediate pleasures and more on meaningful living, eudaimonia, moderation, mindfulness, long-term goals, and authentic relationships, we build lives rich in genuine fulfillment, emotional resilience, and lasting joy. Pleasure itself remains valuable, but only when balanced carefully with deeper forms of happiness. Through mindful, meaningful engagement with life, guided by wisdom from Aristotle, Epictetus, and contemporary psychological research, we achieve not just momentary pleasure, but true emotional depth, lasting satisfaction, and genuine happiness. Throughout this video, we've explored an important but often misunderstood idea that pleasure, while essential to life, cannot alone guarantee lasting happiness. We've seen how chasing endless pleasure, whether through social media, material possessions, or immediate sensory gratification, often leads not to joy, but instead to dissatisfaction, anxiety, addiction, and even emotional emptiness. Pleasure, as we've discovered, is a wonderful part of life, but when we make it our ultimate goal, we quickly find ourselves trapped on the hedonic treadmill, always chasing happiness, yet never truly capturing it. we've learned about the neuroscience behind pleasure, recognizing that dopamine-driven behaviors can rapidly spiral into compulsive, addictive patterns, making genuine happiness even harder to achieve. Real-world examples from celebrities and historical figures to ordinary individuals vividly illustrated how excessive pleasure-seeking often results in broken relationships, depression, and existential suffering. Philosophers like Nietzsche and the Stoics taught us that comfort and immediate gratification might feel good momentarily, but they rarely contribute to real growth, resilience, or lasting happiness. Instead, these thinkers encouraged us to confront life's challenges courageously and to cultivate inner virtues and meaningful goals that bring deeper, more sustainable joy. Moreover, we've explored healthier, balanced alternatives to pure hedonism, such as Aristotle's idea of eudaimonia, or meaningful living, and Epicurean principles of moderation, mindfulness, and authentic relationships. Modern psychological research clearly supports these balanced approaches, showing us that lasting happiness comes from purposeful engagement in life, meaningful pursuits, and genuine emotional connections. We've learned practical strategies like mindfulness exercises, pursuing meaningful long-term goals, and investing in authentic relationships, each of which helps create genuine emotional stability and satisfaction. Now, after this exploration, I invite you to take a moment to critically reflect on your own concept of pleasure and happiness. Consider honestly, are your current strategies for happiness truly making you happier, or are they trapping you in endless cycles of craving, dissatisfaction, and emotional emptiness? Are the pleasures you chase genuinely fulfilling, or are they simply temporary distractions from deeper emotional needs? Reflecting deeply on these questions is the first step toward breaking free from harmful pleasure-seeking habits and discovering deeper, lasting forms of joy. Remember, happiness isn't about eliminating pleasure. It's about balancing pleasure thoughtfully and wisely with other vital aspects of life, meaning, personal growth, and authentic human connections. Pleasure becomes most satisfying not when we pursue it endlessly, but when we experience it mindfully, moderately, and in alignment with our deeper values and purposes. True happiness emerges not from constant stimulation, but from inner peace, genuine engagement with life, and meaningful relationships. The challenge I leave you with today is this: what if the path to real happiness isn't chasing pleasure, but understanding it, moderating it, and ultimately transcending it? Imagine what your life could look like if you chose to pursue happiness differently, if you embraced discomfort as an opportunity for growth, cultivated meaningful relationships over superficial connections, and prioritized purpose and meaning above instant gratification. Imagine discovering a deeper, more sustainable joy that doesn't depend solely on external circumstances, but comes from within. This journey toward balanced happiness and fulfillment won't always be easy, but it promises rewards far richer and more lasting than any temporary pleasure. So take this insight with you today. Pleasure has its place, but it is not everything. Seek balance, choose wisely, and remember that true happiness, lasting happiness, is not found by endlessly chasing pleasure, but by thoughtfully embracing it, moderating it, and ultimately moving beyond it. If today was your last day, would you be proud of how you lived? It's a simple question, but it cuts deeper than most people are ready for. We scroll, we rush, we stress, we plan for next week, next month, next year, assuming there will always be a later. We act like life is a rehearsal, like the main performance hasn't started yet. But here's the truth. This is it. No second take, no guaranteed tomorrow, and that's where our story begins. There's an ancient Latin phrase that whispers through history like a ghost at your shoulder. memento mori. It means remember you will die, not in a morbid or depressing way, but as a reminder, a wake-up call, a philosophical alarm clock ringing through time, urging us to stop sleepwalking through life. For the Stoics of ancient Rome, this wasn't something to fear, it was something to carry. They would meditate on death daily, not to dwell on fear, but to sharpen their focus, to live more fully, more honestly. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." And yet look around. Most people live like they'll live forever. We obsess over trivial problems, chase meaningless validation, drown in distractions that numb us from the truth. We're always too busy to call a loved one, to reflect on our path, to confront the life we're actually living. We treat time like an unlimited balance in a bank account, but every second that passes is one you never get back. Time is not a resource, it's your life being spent. Here's the real question this video will explore. How do we live fully while knowing we will die? How do we live in a way that feels urgent, meaningful, and true, without becoming anxious or overwhelmed by the weight of mortality? The answer lies not just in ancient wisdom, but in the fire of modern reflection. It lies in the teachings of the Stoics, in the raw honesty of existential philosophers like Sartre and Camus, in the fierce presence of Japanese samurai warriors who trained every day as if it were their last. It lies in stories of people who faced death, and because of that, learned how to truly live. This isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a practical one. It affects how you spend today. It challenges what you value. It forces you to look in the mirror and ask, am I actually living or just existing? Because the uncomfortable truth is that most people won't realize what matters until it's too late. But you don't have to be most people. We're going to take a deep dive into what it means to live like it's your last day before it really is. We'll walk through the timeless practices of the Stoics. We'll confront the existential dread and freedom that comes with accepting your mortality. We'll look at how warriors, mystics, and survivors across cultures have embraced death as a tool for clarity. And we'll walk away not with fear, but with power. The kind of power that comes from knowing you don't have forever and choosing to live like it matters. To understand how to live fully, we must begin by looking death directly in the eyes. Not as something far away or abstract, but as something close, real, and inevitable. For thousands of years, the wisest among us, philosophers, monks, warriors, poets, have said the same thing in different ways. If you want to live well, you must remember that you will die. This isn't about fear, it's about clarity. When we forget death, we forget how to live. But when we remember it, not occasionally but regularly, it sharpens everything. The Stoics of ancient Rome knew this well. They weren't obsessed with death in a dark or depressing way. They simply believed that death was the great equalizer, the one truth you could count on. Seneca, the Roman statesman and philosopher, wrote that, "Life is long if you know how to use it." He didn't mean you needed to live to 90 or 100. He meant that a life lived intentionally, even if short, could be more complete than a long life wasted in distraction. Seneca advised people to keep death in mind, not to scare them, but to help them filter out what doesn't matter. When you know your time is limited, you stop wasting it on things that don't add value. Petty arguments, material obsession, chasing other people's approval. Epictetus, another great Stoic thinker, was born a slave and eventually became one of the most respected teachers of philosophy. He taught that we should never take anything for granted, not our relationships, not our health, not even the next morning. He would tell his students to look at their loved ones and remind themselves, they are mortal, they can be taken away. This wasn't meant to create anxiety, it was meant to create gratitude. If you knew your time with someone was short, wouldn't you speak to them with more love? Wouldn't you be more present? The Stoics saw death not as the enemy of life, but as its teacher. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled an empire by day and wrote to himself by candlelight at night, put it simply, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." He wrote this not as a poet, but as a soldier, as someone who had seen war, disease, betrayal, and pain. He knew death could come for anyone at any moment, so he urged himself to live with virtue, to be kind, to do the right thing even when it was hard, because nothing else really lasts. He believed that if we always remembered the fragile, temporary nature of life, we would stop getting distracted by what doesn't matter and focus instead on living with integrity. But the Stoics weren't the only ones who thought this way. Thousands of miles away, in ancient India and later across East Asia, Buddhism developed its own version of memento mori. In Buddhism, there is a concept called anicca, which means impermanence. Nothing in this world lasts. Everything is in a constant state of change. This includes your body, your relationships, your success, your struggles. Buddhist monks often meditate on death, not to be morbid, but to gain perspective. Some traditions go as far as meditating in cemeteries or visualizing their own bodies decaying. This is not meant to disgust, it is meant to liberate. When you see that everything is passing, you stop clinging, you let go, and in letting go, you find peace. Zen Buddhism, in particular, encourages a practice of constant awareness of death. The samurai of Japan, deeply influenced by Zen thought, would begin each day with the thought, "Today I may die," not as a depressing thought, but as a spiritual compass. If today is your last, how would you act? How would you speak? What would you make time for? And what would you no longer tolerate? This mindset created a kind of laser-focused presence, a calm alertness that allowed warriors to face battle without fear and monks to face stillness without resistance. Moving to the modern era, we find similar ideas in existentialism, a school of thought that emerged in the 19th and 20th centuries. Unlike the Stoics or Buddhists, the existentialists didn't believe in a cosmic order or universal meaning. They believed the universe was silent, that life by default is absurd, but that's where it gets interesting. Because in that silence, they argued, lies our greatest freedom. Martin Heidegger, a German philosopher, introduced the concept of being toward death. He believed that we spend much of our lives in what he called inauthentic living, going through the motions, absorbed in routines, numbed by distractions. But when we become truly aware that we are going to die, it shocks us into authenticity. It makes us ask the hard questions. What am I doing here? What do I want this life to mean? What really matters? For Heidegger, death wasn't just the end, it was the mirror that reflects our deepest truths. Jean-Paul Sartre took it further. He said that life has no built-in meaning, but that we have the power and the responsibility to create it. And what forces us to take that responsibility seriously? The fact that one day this will all end, there is no escaping it, so we must choose. What will we stand for? What will we commit to? The pressure of death is not a weight that crushes, it's a fire that forges. Albert Camus, another existentialist, famously described life as absurd. Imagine a man pushing a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down, again and again. That's life. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow a neat script. But Camus argued that even in that absurdity, we can find meaning. If we accept the absurd, instead of fighting it, we become free. Death, in this case, is the ultimate absurdity and the ultimate invitation to embrace life on our own terms. So whether we look to the Stoics, the Buddhists, the samurai, or the existentialists, we find one thread that runs through them all. Death makes life urgent. It forces us to stop waiting, to stop postponing what matters, to stop assuming we have all the time in the world. When you really let that idea sink in, not just intellectually, but emotionally, it changes you. It strips away the illusion of permanence. It clears the fog of pettiness and distraction. And what's left is clarity, that the moments we have are all we ever get, and they deserve our full attention. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. But if you live with the awareness that your time is limited, you'll start making better decisions. You'll speak more honestly. You'll take more risks, not reckless ones, but the kind that align with your soul. You'll stop caring so much about how others see you and care more about whether you're proud of who you are. And slowly, you'll start to feel something rare. Peace. Not because life is easy, but because it's real, and you're finally living it with your eyes wide open. One of the greatest lies we tell ourselves, quietly without even realizing it, is that we'll start living later. Later, when things calm down. Later, when we're older or more stable or more successful. We tell ourselves that the real living will begin once we finish school, or get the job, or find the relationship, or earn enough money to finally relax. But somehow, later never comes. The present keeps slipping by, one unnoticed moment at a time, while we stay trapped in a mindset that always delays, always defers. This is the illusion of time, the false belief that we have more of it than we actually do. Most people live in what could be called someday mode. It's the default setting of modern life. We assume we have decades ahead of us. We assume we'll get around to the important stuff eventually. Fixing our habits, mending that broken relationship, writing the book, pursuing the passion, saying what really needs to be said. We push these things into the future as if it's a storage closet that can hold anything we don't want to deal with right now. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The future doesn't exist. It's always an idea, a projection. The only thing that's ever actually real is now. And if we're not careful, we'll waste now over and over again until there's no time left to waste. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote a famous essay called On the Shortness of Life. And in it, he makes a bold claim. Life isn't actually short, we just waste a lot of it. He says, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, if it is well spent." Think about that. He's not blaming fate or biology or tragedy. He's pointing the finger directly at us, at how we use our time. And when you really stop and look at how most people spend their days, it becomes painfully clear. Seneca was right. We spend enormous amounts of time on things that don't matter, scrolling endlessly on our phones, consuming content we barely remember, obsessing over what others think of us, comparing ourselves to strangers, clicking through highlight reels of people we'll never meet. We drown in distraction, and the danger of distraction isn't just that it wastes time, it's that it feels like time well spent. That's what makes it so seductive. You think you're relaxing, you think you're staying informed or entertained or inspired, but in truth, much of it is a form of escape, an escape from discomfort, from silence, from self-reflection. Distraction has become our default. And once it becomes normal, we stop noticing what it's taking from us. It takes our mornings, our evenings, our attention, our energy. It makes it hard to be alone with our thoughts. It makes it hard to go deep into anything meaningful. And most dangerously, it makes us forget that our time is limited. Because when you're distracted, time flies. Hours disappear. Days blur together. You reach the end of a week and wonder where it went. But the real question is, what did you do with it? We've become so used to postponing life that we don't even recognize we're doing it. We say, I'll start that project when I have more time. I'll travel when I retire. I'll get in shape when work slows down. I'll call them tomorrow. But what if there is no tomorrow? What if this week, this season, this year is all you get? This isn't fear-mongering. This is the lens of truth, a reminder that the clock is always ticking, whether we look at it or not. And every time we delay living, we're trading what's real for what's imaginary. We're choosing fantasy over presence. There's something deeply tragic about how many people sleepwalk through life, numbed by the illusion that there will always be more time. It's not that they're bad people, it's that they've been taught, subtly and constantly, that urgency is for emergencies, that life can be put on hold until the right time arrives. But the truth is, the right time doesn't come. You create it. You make the moment right by showing up for it fully. By deciding that this moment matters, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. There's a concept I call present tense urgency. It's not panic, it's not rushing through life, it's not about doing everything fast, it's about doing the right things now, with intention, with presence. It's the opposite of delay, it's the opposite of distraction. It's looking at your time as sacred because it is. It's remembering that your attention is one of the most valuable things you own, and wherever you give it, your life will follow. When you understand this, you stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for clarity. You stop needing perfect conditions. You start acting. You have the conversation. You take the step. You build the habit. You write the first page. You walk into the gym, even if it's been years. You say, I love you. You say, I'm sorry. You say enough, because the illusion of time no longer controls you. You've seen through it. And once you've seen through it, you can't go back. The future is a fantasy. That's not to say we shouldn't plan or set goals or dream big. It means that all those things still have to be built from the present, from today, from the choices you make with the next hour of your life. You don't have to wait until you're on your deathbed to start living like your time matters. You can start now. Right here in the middle of an ordinary day, you can remember the truth. This moment is all you have, and that's not something to fear, it's something to treasure. If you can hold that truth in your heart, everything changes. Your conversations deepen, your focus sharpens, your appreciation for the little things, the sun on your face, the sound of someone laughing, the quiet of early morning, grows stronger. You stop running through life, and you start inhabiting it. That's what makes the illusion of time so dangerous, not that it lies to us, but that it steals what's most real. And the only way to beat it is to live fully and deliberately while you still can. Most people don't really fear death. What they actually fear is dying without having truly lived. They fear reaching the end of their life and realizing they spent too much time pleasing others, chasing meaningless goals, or putting off what they knew in their heart mattered most. Death, in itself, is natural. It's part of the same cycle that gave us life. But what makes it terrifying isn't the end. It's the thought that we might reach that end feeling incomplete, that we might have wasted the one life we were given. This is why some of the greatest minds in history have said that the key to living well is to make peace with death before it arrives. To face it head on, not to obsess or despair, but to strip away the fear it holds over us. Because when we avoid thinking about death, it doesn't go away, it only grows stronger in the background. It shapes our choices, it drives our anxiety, it lurks beneath our surface-level worries. But when we face it openly and regularly, something incredible happens. It loses its power over us, and in its place, we find clarity, courage, and depth. One of the most powerful tools for this is death meditation, a practice that has existed across many cultures and philosophies. The Stoics would begin their day by reminding themselves that they might not live to see the end of it. This wasn't depressing to them, it was energizing. It helped them focus on what actually mattered and let go of petty distractions. Imagine waking up and thinking, "Today could be my last." How would that change the way you speak to the people you love? How would it affect your decisions, your attitude, your awareness? That's the point of the practice. It's not to make you live in fear, but to wake you up. Buddhist traditions also include a form of death meditation, sometimes even visualizing your own body decaying. In some monastic practices, monks visit cremation grounds to observe bodies being burned. It sounds intense, but the purpose is profound. These meditations are not meant to traumatize, they're meant to free the mind from illusion. By confronting the physical reality of death, we detach from the ego's obsession with permanence. We realize the body is temporary, and in that realization, we begin to see what is not temporary: our actions, our impact, our presence. Even something as simple as journaling about death can be powerful. You don't have to write anything poetic or complicated. Just answer one question each morning. If I died tonight, what would I wish I had done today? This small practice can reshape your entire perspective. It doesn't mean living recklessly or trying to cram everything into one day. It means living meaningfully, doing what aligns with your core, even if it's small. Maybe that means saying no to something you don't believe in. Maybe it means spending time with someone you love. Maybe it means finally beginning that thing you've been putting off for years. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Think about that. He wasn't afraid of the end. He was afraid of never truly starting, of coasting through life on autopilot, of hiding behind excuses, of letting fear of judgment, failure, or uncertainty stop him from becoming the person he knew he could be. That quote challenges us to stop fearing what we can't control, death, and start fearing what is in our control, whether or not we're actually showing up to life. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, had a deeply insightful view of death as well. He believed that confronting death is not just an emotional necessity, it's a vital part of becoming whole. In Jung's view, our psychological growth depends on something called individuation, the process of integrating all parts of ourselves, our desires, fears, shadows, and potential. But this process can't be completed if we live in denial of death. According to Jung, the ego, our sense of individual identity, must come to terms with the fact that it too will end. Only then can we access deeper, more authentic layers of the self. In other words, the fear of death isn't just about death, it's about identity. It's about letting go of the false self, the persona we perform for others, and finding what's underneath. When we dig deeper, we find that the fear of death often masks something more specific: the fear of unrealized life, the fear that we've ignored our calling, that we've suppressed the truth about who we are. that we've stayed small because it was comfortable. This is the real root of death anxiety, not the end itself, but the regret of never really showing up, of dying with your best ideas unwritten, your deepest feelings unspoken, your boldest steps untaken. That's what keeps people awake at night, not the final breath, but the fear that they'll arrive there full of what-ifs. And yet, once you bring that fear into the light, it stops controlling you. When you stop running from death, you start running toward life. You begin to make decisions from a place of inner alignment instead of fear. You start living as if each day counts, because it does. You start speaking your truth, not because you have to, but because you no longer want to waste time being anything less than fully honest. You stop needing to win every argument or impress every person, because you realize how temporary it all is. That's the beauty of confronting death. It puts everything into perspective. There's a strange paradox here. The people who think about death the most, who actually meditate on it, reflect on it, write about it, tend to be the most alive. They walk through life with a deeper appreciation. They listen more closely. They love more freely. They let go of grudges more quickly. They don't waste time pretending to be someone they're not. They've accepted that death is part of life, and in doing so, they've unlocked a kind of freedom that most people never touch. Making peace with death doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming passive or resigned. It means understanding the rules of the game, that you don't get to control how long you're here, but you do get to control how you show up. You get to choose whether you live in denial or in truth, whether you numb yourself or wake up, whether you run from death or let it be the compass that guides you to what matters most. This doesn't happen all at once. It's a practice. Some days you'll forget. Some days you'll slip back into distraction or fear. That's okay. The goal isn't to become fearless, it's to become conscious, to stay aware, to keep remembering. Memento mori isn't a one-time insight. It's a way of seeing, a way of returning over and over again to the simple but life-changing truth. You will die, and because of that, you must live. So light a candle, write the words, look at your life and ask yourself, what am I afraid to face? And then face it, not because you're ready, but because it's real, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way to be free. At some point, every honest person has to look life in the face and admit something uncomfortable. This world doesn't come with clear instructions. There's no fixed blueprint, no ultimate manual that tells you exactly why you're here, what you're supposed to do, or how you're supposed to find meaning. For many people, this realization is terrifying. It feels like falling into a void. But for the existential philosophers, Nietzsche, Sartre, Camus, and later Viktor Frankl, this was not a reason to despair. It was a reason to wake up, to take responsibility, to stop waiting and start creating. Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This is one of the most important ideas in all of philosophy. What he meant is that suffering, pain, uncertainty, all of that becomes bearable if you have a clear reason for being. If you have a purpose that's real to you, then even the darkest seasons of life won't destroy you. You'll endure. You'll adapt. You'll keep going because there's something worth enduring for. Nietzsche's message wasn't soft or comforting. It was a challenge. He believed that life was difficult by nature, and that greatness was only possible for those who chose to rise above comfort and find meaning through strength, vision, and will. But what if there is no objective meaning? What if life, as some say, is absurd? That's where Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus come in. For Sartre, life doesn't come pre-packaged with meaning. You're not born with a cosmic mission stamped on your soul. Instead, he believed in radical freedom. You're free to create your own meaning, your own purpose, your own identity. That sounds exciting at first, but it also comes with a heavy burden. Because if life has no built-in meaning, then you can't hide behind fate or destiny or the rules of society. You can't blame anyone else for how your life turns out. You have to own it. Every choice, every belief, every action, it's yours. Camus took this even further with his idea of the absurd. He described human existence as this strange, almost comical condition. We search endlessly for meaning in a universe that gives us none. We ask deep questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What does it all mean? And the universe answers with silence. Camus didn't sugarcoat this reality, but he also didn't say, give up. He said the opposite. He said we must rebel, not against others, but against the void. And how do we rebel? By choosing to live with full awareness. By creating our own purpose, even if the universe remains silent. He compared this to the myth of Sisyphus, a man condemned to push a boulder up a hill forever, only for it to roll back down. Camus said, we must imagine Sisyphus as happy, because in choosing to keep pushing, Sisyphus owns his fate. He becomes free. These ideas laid the foundation for what Viktor Frankl later called logotherapy. Frankl was a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. He lost his entire family in Nazi concentration camps. He experienced suffering on a level most of us can barely imagine. And yet, out of that suffering, he wrote one of the most powerful books of the 20th century, Man's Search for Meaning. In it, he explains that human beings are not driven by pleasure or power as much as they are driven by purpose. Without a clear sense of why, people fall into despair, but with a strong why, they can survive almost anything. Frankl saw this in the camps. Those who had a reason to live, a loved one waiting for them, a book they needed to write, a cause they believed in, had a much higher chance of surviving than those who didn't. The key idea in logotherapy is this: meaning is not something you wait for, it's something you make. Life doesn't owe you purpose, it's your job to create it. And that creation happens not in comfort, but in the moments when you're tested. When you suffer, when you lose, when life doesn't go according to plan, that's where the opportunity lies. The opportunity to ask yourself, what does this mean to me? What can I build from this? Who can I become because of this? There are countless examples of people who've changed their lives after facing death. People who, through illness, accident, or loss, were forced to confront their mortality and use that confrontation to transform. One man survives a heart attack and realizes he's been working a job he hates for 20 years just to impress people who don't care about him. He quits, starts writing, and finally feels alive. A woman loses her child, and in the depths of her grief, creates a foundation to help other families in pain. A teenager diagnosed with terminal cancer starts filming videos to inspire others, not out of denial, but out of a desire to leave something meaningful behind. These people didn't wait for life to give them a mission. They took what life gave them, good or bad, and made it matter. That's the existential response. You don't get to control the hand you're dealt, but you do control what you do with it. You control how you interpret your experiences. You control the story you tell about your pain, your struggles, your journey. And that brings us to a simple but powerful truth. You can't wait for life to hand you meaning. You have to go out and build it. It doesn't need to be grand or heroic. Your meaning doesn't have to be something the world celebrates. It just has to be true. Maybe it's raising a child with love. Maybe it's creating art that expresses your soul. Maybe it's helping others heal from wounds you've known yourself. Or maybe it's just choosing to show up every day, fully and honestly, in a world that constantly asks you to be fake. That alone is a rebellion worth living for. There is no formula, no final answer, just this moment and the choice you make in it. You can choose to drift, to delay, to hope that one day it will all click. Or you can choose to commit to a path, to a practice, to a purpose that resonates deeply within you. And once you do, something incredible happens. Fear starts to fade, not because the world gets easier, but because you've anchored yourself in something real. The existentialists didn't deny that life is hard. They just believed that we are strong enough to shape it anyway. To take the chaos, the absurdity, the uncertainty, and turn it into something meaningful. Not because we have to, but because we can. And that's the real power. To look life in the face, with all its pain and imperfection, and say, I choose to live on my terms. So ask yourself, what's your why? What matters enough to suffer for? What's the thing you'd regret never doing, never saying, never becoming? If you don't know yet, that's okay. Start small. Pay attention to what moves you, what angers you, what lights you up. That's where meaning lives, not in the abstract, but in your everyday attention. And then act. Don't wait for the world to explain itself. Make the meaning, live the meaning, and in doing so, you'll no longer fear the end, because you'll be too busy living a life that actually feels like yours. Knowing that you will die changes how you think, but living like you will die, that changes everything. It's one thing to reflect on death as a concept, to sit with it intellectually, to acknowledge it from a distance. It's another thing entirely to practice that awareness every day, not out of fear, but as a form of focus. This is where the idea of urgent living comes into play. It's not about rushing or panicking. It's not about cramming your schedule or living in constant anxiety. It's about choosing to live with deliberate intensity, a kind of quiet urgency that says, today matters, this moment matters, let's not waste it. Urgent living begins in the morning. Before the noise, before the emails, before the news, before you lose yourself in a to-do list you didn't even choose. Start your day with a question that most people are too afraid to ask. What if I die today? Not as a dramatic exaggeration, but as a genuine prompt. You don't know how long you have, none of us do, so ask, if this was my last day, how would I want to show up? What would I want to say? What kind of presence would I want to carry through the world? This question alone can rewire your thinking. It immediately clears the clutter from your mind and puts your attention where it belongs, on what's real. Write it down. Make it a habit. On a blank page every morning, scribble the sentence, I may die today. How do I want to live? Then answer it. Some days it might be simple. I want to be kind to my partner. Or, I want to finish that project that matters. Or maybe I just want to slow down and be present with my child. The answers don't need to be profound, they just need to be honest. And what you'll start to notice over time is that this tiny act of morning reflection slowly begins to shape your choices. You'll find yourself saying no to things that don't align. You'll stop giving so much energy to meaningless drama. You'll feel a subtle pull toward what's true. Another powerful exercise is to visualize your own funeral. Not in a morbid way, but in a reflective way. Sit for a few minutes, close your eyes, and imagine the people you love standing in a room speaking about the life you lived. What would they say? What would you want them to say? That you were always busy? That you had nice things? That you never made time for them? Or would you want to be remembered as someone who showed up, who cared deeply, who took risks, who lived in alignment with something meaningful? This practice isn't about shame, it's about clarity. It brings into sharp focus what you value and what you've been neglecting. Maybe there's a phone call you've been avoiding, a project you keep postponing, a truth you're afraid to speak. Let the vision of your legacy pull you toward action, not because you're trying to impress others, but because you don't want to die with important things left unsaid or undone. Urgent living also means reordering your priorities, not according to urgency in the traditional sense, but according to essence. Most people live reactive lives. They respond to whatever is loudest, most convenient, or most demanding. But urgent living is about flipping that on its head. It means putting first things first. Real relationships over shallow connections. Deep work over constant busyness. Reflection over distraction. Presence over performance. Ask yourself, what in your daily routine is actually meaningful, not just productive, meaningful? The conversations where you feel fully seen, the work that challenges you and stretches your soul, the quiet moments of solitude where you remember who you are. These are the things that should define your day, not just chores, not just obligations, not just notifications. When you live with the awareness of death, you begin to see that so much of what fills your calendar is just noise. And when you cut through that noise, what remains is your life, stripped down, honest, essential. And that means you must be willing to let some things go. That's part of the practice too. You can't live with urgency if your life is full of dead weight. Start identifying the time wasters, the activities, habits, and even relationships that drain your energy and pull you away from what really matters. This isn't about being cold or ruthless, it's about being honest. Not every connection in your life is meant to last forever. Some people, some patterns, some routines, they belong to an older version of you. And if you want to live fully now, you have to release what's no longer aligned with the person you're becoming. Think about emotional drama. How much time do we spend rehashing the past, holding grudges, getting caught in cycles of resentment or comparison? What if you could use that time differently? What if you could take that energy and put it toward healing, creating, building, or simply being? Urgent living doesn't mean you rush through emotions. It means you stop feeding the ones that keep you stuck. You process them, feel them, learn from them, and then you move forward. Because life is too short to live inside your own mental cage. One of the most misunderstood parts of urgency is that people assume it means rushing, but real urgency is still. It's quiet, it's calm, it's deliberate, it doesn't panic, it prioritizes. Think of a surgeon in an emergency. They don't freak out, they slow down, they focus. That's what inner urgency looks like. It's a kind of steady presence that says, this matters, I'm not going to waste it. You can live this way, not frantic, not chaotic, but fully awake. You don't need to cram your life with experiences, you just need to be fully there for the ones that count. You can begin building this kind of life right now. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a simple system of reflection, decision, and presence. Every morning reflect, how do I want to live today? Every day decide, what truly matters right now? And in every moment, ask yourself, am I here or am I elsewhere? That's it. That's the foundation of urgent living, not perfection, just presence. This kind of lifestyle takes courage, because the world will constantly try to pull you away from it. There will always be another distraction, another demand, another voice telling you to wait, to settle, to blend in. But if you live by the awareness that you will die, you no longer have the luxury of delay. You stop living on default, you stop floating, you start choosing, and over time, those choices become your life. A life you can be proud of. A life you didn't sleepwalk through. A life defined not by how long it lasted, but by how deeply it was lived. So take a breath right now and ask yourself, what matters most? What's been waiting for your full attention? What are you ready to let go of? What are you finally ready to do? The answers are already inside you. All you have to do is stop waiting for the right time. Because the right time isn't coming. This is the time, this moment, this heartbeat, this breath. Sometimes it takes a brush with death to finally wake up to life. As strange as it sounds, people often begin to live more fully only after being reminded, forcefully, unavoidably, that their time is limited. While most people try to ignore the reality of mortality, those who confront it often experience something profound. They gain clarity. They see what matters and what doesn't. They let go of their fear and ego. They don't waste time pretending anymore. And they begin to build lives that are meaningful, not just impressive. This isn't theory, it's something we can see in countless real stories of people who turn their lives around by facing death head-on. Take Steve Jobs, for example, a man who revolutionized technology and business, but also someone who thought deeply about mortality. In his famous 2005 Stanford commencement speech, he said, "Remembering I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life." He went on to explain how this thought helped him avoid the trap of thinking he had something to lose. Because when you truly accept that you will die, you realize how little time you have for fear, for shame, for hesitation. Jobs didn't say this to be poetic. He had battled cancer. He had experienced that sudden moment when your life's timeline becomes painfully real. And from that place of awareness, he built with urgency and clarity. He created things that mattered to him. He followed intuition over convention. And he reminded millions that death is not the enemy, it's a teacher. Viktor Frankl's story goes even deeper. A Holocaust survivor, Frankl was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps where he lost his family and nearly his own life. In that hellish environment, where people were stripped of their dignity, health and freedom, he observed something remarkable. Those who had a sense of purpose, a why, were more likely to survive than those who didn't. He watched as people who had something meaningful to live for, whether it was a child, unfinished work, or a deep spiritual belief, found strength in the darkest of places. Out of this experience, he developed the foundation of logotherapy, a psychological method built on the belief that the search for meaning is the primary motivation of human beings. Frankl didn't deny the horror he lived through. He didn't try to paint it as something noble, but he did insist that even in suffering, we can find purpose. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That choice, even in the face of death, is what gives us power." Frankl's story shows us that meaning is not something handed to us by the world. It is something we create, sometimes painfully, sometimes quietly, but always with intention. There are countless others whose lives were transformed not by death itself, but by the awareness of it. Terminally ill patients often speak of a strange paradox. Once they stop trying to outrun death and begin to accept it, they often find peace. Suddenly small things take on new meaning. The taste of food, the sound of rain, a conversation with a loved one. These become sacred. There's a shift in perspective. The future no longer stretches out in front of them like an endless road, so they stop delaying joy. They say what they mean. They forgive. They create. They become fully alive, even in the face of the end. In books like When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi or Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom, we see stories of people who, when faced with terminal diagnoses, begin to distill life down to its essence. Kalanithi, a neurosurgeon diagnosed with cancer, wrote about how death stripped away his illusions. He said, "Even if I'm dying, until I actually die, I am still living." That one sentence carries so much truth. It's easy to forget in the fog of daily stress and distraction that we are alive right now, and that simple fact is enough to give our time weight and meaning. Even among ordinary people, not just philosophers, survivors, or public figures, there are reflections worth listening to. If you were to sit down with someone who survived a car crash, or a near-death medical scare, or even a suicide attempt, you'd often hear something familiar. I was wasting my life. They don't talk about their resume or their regrets about not posting more content. They talk about people, about love, about the pain they ignored, the chances they didn't take, the time they thought they had, and the moment everything changed. To bring this closer to home, here's a simple prompt that anyone can use, whether you're facing death or not. Write down what you would do if you knew for certain that you had only 1 year to live. Not in theory. Really picture it. 1 year. That's 365 days. What would change? Who would you stop trying to impress? What truths would you stop hiding? Who would you forgive? What would you stop postponing? Now take that list and ask yourself, why am I waiting to live like this? Why do we need a diagnosis or a funeral or a tragedy to finally give ourselves permission to live intentionally? You don't need to be sick to live like your time is valuable. You don't need to be dying to finally be honest with yourself. Another powerful reflection is to ask yourself at the end of each day, if I died tonight, would I be at peace with how I live today? It's a confronting question, but over time it can become a compass. Maybe today you didn't do everything perfectly. Maybe you got distracted or snapped at someone or wasted time. That's okay. This practice isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. It's about making small, meaningful adjustments day by day so that your life begins to align with your deepest values. People often think they need to completely change their lives to live more meaningfully. But it's not about quitting your job or moving to a mountain or giving up your belongings. Urgent living isn't about extremes, it's about depth. It's about bringing intention to the life you already have. It's about listening more closely, speaking more honestly, showing up more fully, and remembering every single day that this is it. This is your shot. Not someday, now. Real people have proven this over and over again. You don't need to be extraordinary, you just need to be awake. And sometimes the awareness of death is the very thing that opens your eyes. Not to sadness, but to meaning. Not to fear, but to truth. Not to dread, but to purpose. So write the sentence. I may die today, how do I want to live? Write it every morning. Read it every night. Let it shape your words, your choices, your focus. Because in the end, death is not what steals life from us. It's forgetfulness.